Hello and welcome to my unhinged recap of Nurse Jackie. We are going to be covering all 7 seasons in one video because some people say The Sopranos is like a 60-hour whatever long movie. That's how I feel about Nurse Jackie. Nurse Jackie is my Sopranos. If you're gonna give me a show with an antihero that features Edie Falco, I'm gonna put on this one. Nurse Jackie is a series that aired on Showtime. It follows a nurse named Jackie Payton, who is a nurse and a drug addict. It's probably a good time to say that this series and this video will delve into some pretty serious topics regarding addiction and medical drama genre typical stuff. I will leave some resources down in the description box so you can find links to things you may find helpful. But just know if you feel the need to sit this one out, I totally understand. And hopefully, I'll see you on the next series. A few other things to set up. Since the show does cover such a serious topic, it's something that I want to be respectful and mindful of as I approach the series. So I have done some outside research on addiction recovery, and I've also listened to Edie Falco's interviews for press for Nurse Jackie where she discusses addiction. So my framework is going to come from Edie Falco's own words about the show and from the general principles of addiction psychology and recovery. Jackie's story is one specific portrayal of addiction and a woman's experience with it. Just in case you haven't seen the show, you're coming into this blind, I feel like it's important to lay that out so you can enjoy this video and enjoy how the series unravels. In my Desperate Housewives series, I stuck mostly to the most important stuff, but I never stuck to one specific character, whereas with Nurse Jackie, I am sticking only to things relevant to Jackie's story. Nurse Jackie is a dark comedy. A good amount of the comedy comes from the surrounding hospital staff and what happens in the hospital, but Jackie isn't involved in all of those plots, therefore they won't be discussed. But I feel like it's important for me to note what the general tone of the show is, because that is part of the lens I'm applying when looking at all of the plot lines, including Jackie's, including the ones that deal with addiction, because the tone of the show balances everything in a very intentional way. So although I'm not discussing all the sillier, lighter subplots, it's still part of the complete package of the show. So trying to make sure that comes across is another goal I have for this video. Let's dive into the pilot, and when I'm finished talking about the pilot, we will kind of discuss more of my framework and the questions I plan to answer throughout the remainder of the video. Without further ado, let's break down the pilot episode of Nurse Jackie. This episode features a voiceover from Jackie herself as it opens on her laying on the floor of some hospital or medical looking room. She makes a joke. What do you call a nurse with a bad back? Unemployed. And we see her using drugs for the first time. Therefore, it's communicating to us that the reason she's using drugs is because of her bad back. She relies on drugs to keep her job. As the audience is what we are told from the get-go. Whether or not this is the full truth or if it's just Jackie's way of rationalizing it to herself, we don't know. Jackie works at a hospital called All Saints, which features statues of Mary, a chapel. Jackie also wears a necklace which represents her Catholicism. She doesn't really practice much anymore, but in this episode she does quote St. Augustine saying, "Make me good, God, but not yet," which kind of fills us in on how she feels about her life. It's not perfect. She is perhaps sinning in some ways. God has not made her good, but maybe she's not interested in being that just yet because she's comfortable. Let me state right now, early on, Jackie's addiction itself is not a moral failing. Her addiction is not the sin I'm referring to. It's far more complex than, oh, she's not fully good yet because she's using. No. And Jackie opens up pill capsules and snorts the contents. She crushes up pills and adds them to her coffee. Everybody's so creative, especially Jackie. Now, is she only creative when it comes to drugs? No. She's also creative when it comes to the way she cares for patients. In the pilot episode, the hospital treats a sex worker who was stabbed 30-some times with a knife by this man who cannot be arrested because he has diplomatic immunity. The woman fought back and tore his ear off. It's now on Jackie to clean him up, get the ear prepped so it can be reattached to his body. Instead, since he is an evil, evil man, she takes the little baggie with the ear in it into the women's room and flushes it down the toilet. In the same episode, there is a bike messenger who is hit by a car, and Jackie suggests they run a CT scan on him. Dr. Cooper, who is not on the wall, I'll point out the characters who are, fails to do so, and the patient dies. His partner is pregnant, and she has no money, and that's why he was working so hard with this messenger job. So Jackie decides to steal from the person who stabbed the other woman because he's got loads of cash in his pocket, and she just tucks it into the woman's shoe for her to find when she wakes. Now, with this dead bike messenger, she also falsely reports that he is an organ donor. In a highly illegal move, she signs the back of his driver's license because she feels that it's for the best if his death doesn't go to waste. His partner was shocked to discover that he was an organ donor. Of course, he wasn't actually an organ donor, but she asked Jackie if she can have his kidney so she can sell it because she needs the money. Jackie tells her that's just not how things work. Let's unpack all that a little bit. So Jackie, she's represented in several places on the wall. I know maybe it's weird that one person is on the wall several times, but this wall is different than the Desperate Housewives wall. So we have the basic Jackie Payton. This is like the woman at home, woman her family knows. We have Jackie the addict, and we have Nurse Jackie. So I will explain more as the series goes on. This is just season 1, which is so simple. It was like 4 paragraphs of notes. And then seasons 5 and 6 and 7 are like 8 pages. We see from Jackie, she has already done a crime, signing the organ donor thing. She also has a very clear opinion of right and wrong. Although it's her duty to take care of patients, she flushes that man's ear down a toilet. She gives that woman money when she could have pocketed it for herself. She makes the man an organ donor because she feels that that is the right thing to do. To me, it feels so important to establish that Jackie is capable of lying and manipulating any situation she wants in order to ensure that the outcome fits with her morals. Jackie, first and foremost, is a nurse, and she is a good one. Although we as the audience see that she is doing something illegal and maybe not a choice that we consider moral, Jackie is doing what she thinks is best as a nurse in that moment. In this episode, we are also introduced to Zoe Barkow, who is a new nurse. She's going to be training under Jackie. She is the love of my life. She's so silly. She wears really bright, colorful scrubs. Jackie, on the other hand, is no nonsense. She doesn't like chatty. She's there to do her job and do it well. Just because Zoe is a little more happy-go-lucky and warmer, it doesn't mean that she is a better person than Jackie. They are both nurses, and Jackie is an excellent nurse. In fact, we are also introduced to Dr. Eleanor O'Hara, who is Jackie's bestie at the hospital, the only one who knows her secrets, which we will get into. And we are introduced to Eddie, who is the pharmacist at the emergency room, and he and Jackie are sleeping together. They're sleeping together, her back hurts, she complains about her back hurting, and he gives her a couple pills to hold her through. This is Gloria Akalitis. She is a former nurse and now the administrator of the ER. She is also pretty no-nonsense like Jackie, so you can see how she would have been a great nurse. The biggest difference between Jackie and Gloria is Gloria also has to consider what the board is making her do. She has people she has to answer to, so there's just like more weight on her shoulders. It's just a different kind of no-nonsense. Jackie is dealing with life and death situations. Gloria is dealing with funding, legal matters, paperwork, making sure the hospital itself is up and running for the greater good of all the patients. At the end of the pilot, Jackie leaves the hospital to head home. Eddie asks her if she wants to spend the night at his place, and she's like, no, I gotta head home. He gives her a moon pie and some more pills. And then Jackie heads home. As far as we are concerned up until this point, Jackie is a single woman. She's a nurse. She takes her job very seriously. She's having an affair with the pharmacist. Her whole life really is at the hospital. And then she gets home to her little house in Queens, and there are 2 little girls waiting for her. They're around the ages of 5 and 7. And yeah, these are her 2 kids. Turns out she has kids. Their names are Fiona and Grace. They're a little older in these pictures, but Grace is the older of the 2 daughters. Fiona is the baby. And when she's walking through her front door, she reaches into her scrub, pulls out a ring, and puts it on. And once she talks to her girl, she then goes into the kitchen to talk to her husband, Kevin. And she's like, "Hey, babe." She's married. She's married to a man named Kevin. And she takes off her ring when she goes to the hospital so that Eddie won't know she's married. In fact, no one who works at the hospital knows she's married except for her bestie, Eleanor. And that is the pilot. Now that we've discussed that, let's add some more framework to this whole thing. So, what do I hope to explore in this series? 1, how do they create a character we can root for in Jackie? Number 2, in what ways does the psychology of addiction complement dramatic structure? And how does Nurse Jackie use that to create a compelling narrative? And number 3, how does the show so effectively explore identity? Unlike Desperate Housewives, I will not be going episode by episode with Nurse Jackie. It's just not necessary for how this particular show is crafted. So, season 1 is going to be pretty short. Let's move on from the pilot and talk about what else happens in season 1. On Zoe's second day at the hospital, she's in the bathroom crying, talking to her mom on the phone when the ear that Jackie flushed down the toilet pops up in the toilet. ER Administrator Gloria Akalitis is forced to investigate the situation. Of course, we know that it is Jackie who flushed the ear down the toilet because she felt it was the right thing to do, but she's okay with pinning this on Zoe, saying it was her first day, she lost track of the ear, accidentally flushed down the toilet, maybe when she was throwing up, because Zoe's been throwing up a lot at work because she's scared as shit. Now, is this a kind thing to do to a young woman who is starting to train under you? No. But is she going to get into as much trouble for it as Jackie would? No. Therefore, is it in Jackie's best interest as a nurse, in order to protect her position, to throw the blame onto Zoe? In Jackie's mind, yes. It turns out Jackie is right, and the whole thing kind of blows over. Zoe faces a moral dilemma in the emergency room for the first time when a former nurse who has been dying of cancer comes into the emergency room. She is likely going to be transferred up to hospice, but while they're getting a bed ready for her, Jackie and a bunch of the other nurses gather around to support her. The woman informs the team that she doesn't want to go to hospice. She just wants to die in peace, and she wants their help. Jackie pours champagne for everyone and adds a bunch of morphine to this particular nurse's drink so that she can die surrounded by her fellow nurses. Zoe feels that she cannot possibly partake in this, and so Jackie tells her, then don't. But this is what the woman wants, and even though it's hard to feel that responsibility, it's something that that nurse would do for any of them if they were to ask for her help. When this former nurse dies, Gloria informs everyone she will be running tests on the IV bag, and if there's any morphine in it, they will all lose their jobs. Luckily, they had the foresight not to mess with the IV bag, so their asses are saved. In this season, we get a temp nurse named Sam who is high at work. Jackie confronts him about it, and he informs her, "Takes one to know one." So this is the first time that somebody kind of hints to Jackie that they know what she's up to and know that she is not just taking a few pills occasionally to help her back, but that she has a problem. At home, Jackie's older daughter, Grace, is beginning to struggle with some pretty bad anxiety. She has fear that the bubonic plague is going to come back and kill everyone. This leads to her really starting to struggle in school, so Kevin and Jackie decide that they're going to send her to private school, but that's expensive. Dr. O'Hara offers to help. She would like to pay for Grace's and possibly Fiona's private school education. She's kind of like the godmother, and she has more money than she knows what to do with. It's kind of her whole thing. She's just the rich girl. Kevin, however, really does not like the idea. It seems it's probably just a pride thing, but he does not want O'Hara to be paying for his girls' school. I don't think I've mentioned it yet, but Kevin owns a bar, so he works late nights and the girls hang out there with him. Yeah, it's cute. Jackie has more amazing nurse moments. One such case is when there is a 10-year-old who's trying to care for her mom with lupus, and Jackie loads her up with free medications from the pharmacy and also gives her personal number so that She can call if she has questions about taking care of her mom. In another instance, a sex offender comes into the emergency room. He needed a catheter, and now they can't get it out. So Jackie's like, oh, I'll do it. And she goes up and fucking yanks it out. One day, Grace calls Jackie on her emergency cell phone from school. She's having a panic attack. Jackie is trying to calm her down over the phone, but Dr. Cooper is being really annoying and keeps yapping at her. So Jackie snaps at him, shut up, it's my kid. And this is when people start to learn that Jackie has kids. She asks Cooper not to tell anyone because she just likes to keep her private life private, but of course he tells his buddy Eddie. So now Eddie confronts Jackie about why she would lie about such a thing. Crucially, he still does not know that she is married. He just assumes she is a single mom. One day when Jackie's walking into work, she tries to take off her wedding ring to slip it into her pocket for the day, but the damn thing will not come off. So she asks Dr. O'Hara to saw it off her finger for her, and O'Hara does, but she's like, girl, how are you going to explain this to Kevin? And luckily, Jackie has a plan. She finds a toolkit, grabs a mallet from it, goes into the ladies' room, puts her hand on the floor, and smashes her finger with a mallet. This way, she can tell Kevin she broke her finger and they had to saw it off before they put the cast on. As we approach the end of the season, the hospital board becomes more insistent about installing technologies into the hospital, specifically the emergency room, that will save money. One such high-tech solution is called the Pill-O-Matic. The Pill-O-Matic is a machine that automatically dispenses medication. You swipe your ID, you input exactly the medication you need, and then you can take that medication out from the little door that opens. It's supposed to help prevent errors in paperwork, prevent shortages, etc. But this threatens Jackie in two different ways. One, it threatens her access to medication because if everything is tracked, she's fucked. It also threatens her access to drugs because Eddie is often the one who gives her those drugs. Additionally, it threatens her relationship with Eddie because if the Pill-O-Matic is installed, Eddie will no longer be needed at the hospital. He will be fired or transferred elsewhere, therefore she will lose the relationship / affair she has with Eddie. On Eddie's last day, he shows Jackie a kind of workaround with the system where if you unplug the Pill-O-Matic, it will wipe all the data. Therefore, you can just take as much as you want, unplug it, and the computer won't know, and it won't be able to explain where the shortage came from. So even though he's leaving, he's really enabling the addiction that he should know she has, but maybe, he hasn't really fully accepted it yet. The Pill-O-Matic is successfully installed, and Eddie is fired from the hospital. In the season finale, Eddie sees Jackie walk into Kevin's bar and kiss him and chat with her girls, which means he now knows that Jackie is married. The next day, he goes into the bar and starts up a conversation with Kevin, not revealing who he is, just that he's a pharmacist. And he decides he's just gonna kind of befriend Kevin and see what happens. Eddie, drunk, goes to the hospital and tells Jackie that he met Kevin and he's a very nice boy. So Jackie, assuming of course that Eddie told Kevin about their affair, literally drinks a bunch of morphine and passes out on the floor of the hospital. And that is the end of season 1. We've already established so much, set a lot of important groundwork for the seasons to come. I'm going to choose 3 things to highlight that I feel are the most important to kind of keep in mind moving forward. Number 1 is going to be the building anxiety that Grace is experiencing. Number 2 is that incident where she couldn't get the ring off and smashed her finger, because it just highlights how far Jackie is willing to go to protect her secrets. And number 3, the way that Eddie protected Jackie's access to drugs even when he is fired due to the Pill-O-Matic. I'd also like to highlight the character of Sam one more time. I'd also like to highlight Sam one more time. Is Jackie more startled by his implications because she may need to stop using drugs because she may be exposed for that? Or is it more so that if she were to be exposed, she could lose her job, her nursing license, and so on and so forth? Finally, let's chat about the wall a little bit. I want to tell you what the different colors mean. So a black cross serves as the base structure of the wall this time. For a neutral line, just to show how things are connected to one another, I've used this simple brown. The staff at the hospital is all connected to Jackie because they work with Nurse Jackie, right? So that's the brown line. Purple lines are threats. In this instance, the Pillomatic threatens the affair with Eddie, as well as Eddie's career, and the Pillomatic threatens Jackie's ability to access drugs. Likewise with Sam, I simply highlighted for this one that it threatens Jackie being exposed as an addict. This line sort of bleeds into season 2, but it is O'Hara giving / trying to give Jackie money for the girls to go to Catholic school. Finally, the green line is enabling. Actually, I think I need to change this. Oh my. But yeah, Eddie is enabling Jackie as a drug user, not Jackie as a mom. So I need to fix this line. Hold on. There are multiple Jackies because things get complicated and twisted as the series goes on, and making these distinctions is important. Okay. Oopsie. Sorry about that. Anyways, I'm going to take a quick break and we are going to dive into season 2. All right, season 2. So there have been some problems with shrinkage with the Pillomatic system. So Acolytus requests that Jackie, who is not officially the head nurse but may as well be, give all the other nurses a tutorial on how to use the Pillomatic. So in the pharmacy, it is Jackie leading this demonstration. Acolytus is there, and like half a dozen other nurses. Jackie demonstrates how the system is used. You input your PIN, you input the medication you need, and then you withdraw the medication from the machine in whatever slot opens up that holds the medication. When Jackie takes the medication from the machine for the demonstration, she takes more than needed, but it goes unnoticed by Acolytus or by any of the nurses watching because she is so tricky with her sleight of hand. Sam returns to work full-time at the hospital. He has gone through rehab and is sober, and Gloria really advocates for him, saying that he has glowing recommendations and he's going to be a great asset to the full-time staff. Jackie's kind of stressed out about this since Sam was a threat to her before. Like in season 1, we once again see Jackie using her wit to outsmart the system and get help for her patient. In this case, she is trying to get hand surgery covered by insurance for a deaf patient. She makes the argument that this deaf woman communicates through sign language, therefore this surgery is in fact medically necessary, but the insurance company is not all that helpful with her. So she ends up talking to the insurance guy on the phone for like 2 hours, really charming him, flirting, making conversation, doing whatever she needs to do. She gives him some life advice, and at the end of the day, the woman is able to get the surgery. Similarly, we see Gloria scheming and manipulating, telling a little lie this time in order to benefit the hospital. There is an episode where a huge hospital donor comes in and is ill, and upon her death, Gloria tells someone that her last words were that she wishes to give millions of dollars to the emergency room. I wanted to highlight this because it's so important to show that Jackie is not the only person on the show who ever tells a lie or manipulates things for what she considers to be the greater good. Gloria is also guilty of doing this in a specific episode. Let's address things at home. So Eddie and Kevin are becoming even closer friends. They're going to a Mets game together. It's serious. They're best bros now, and Kevin still does not know who Eddie actually is. Grace is also continuing to struggle with her anxiety. There is a heart-wrenching scene in this season where she tells her mom about the best smoke detector on the market. She gives her this little pamphlet about it and then gives her some money and says that she's been saving her allowance so that they can buy it for their house. Jackie tells her that her allowance isn't for smoke detectors, it's for things like candy, and it's mom's job to worry about things like that, not Grace's job. The Pillomatic continues to cause problems and there is still a shortage, so a security guard is placed into the pharmacy. So now they're still paying someone to sit in there, just not a pharmacist. Anyways, Jackie continues stealing pills right in front of him. He's sitting there twiddling his thumbs. If iPhones were a bigger thing when this show aired, they could have put him on one of those and then he would be just like the NYPD at the train stations. But later on, the system is just simply not working. The computer's having issues. There's a long wait for medication, so Gloria decides it's a fucking free-for-all at the pharmacy. While the Pillomatic system is in place, Jackie has to rely on supplemental sources of drugs. She is spending a lot of money each month on trips to the pharmacy to get whatever she can from various doctors. Because the pharmacy charges and bills would be a dead giveaway, she opens a P.O. box and all of the bills are sent to there. As the pharmacy bills really start to pile up and she realizes she's going to go into debt, Jackie decides to tell O'Hara that Kevin agreed to let her fund the girl's education. This way, she has money from O'Hara that she can use to cover the cost of her drug usage without Kevin ever finding out. At the hospital, Sam reaches 6 months of sobriety and he asks Jackie if he can step out for a while to attend his 6-month AA meeting. Jackie tells him he can go, but when he does, she tattles on him to acolytus, who then puts him on probation. Another way Jackie scores drugs is when a man collapses outside of the hospital, seemingly with an overdose. And while Jackie is helping him, she discovers his pockets are full of drugs, so she takes them. At home, things with Grace have continued to escalate. One morning, she's spending a long time in the bathroom, and when Jackie finally gets in, she discovers that Grace has been pulling out her hair. She tells Grace that this behavior needs to stop because they, quote, can't have any secrets in this house. I'm sure you've already put 2 and 2 together about why this line just holds so much. Jackie's preaching about secrets. So again, it points to Jackie is able to rationalize why her secrets are important and need to be kept, but Grace's, for the sake of her well-being, can no longer be secrets. Things at home are getting kind of crazy, so Kevin and Jackie decide they're going to take the girls and do a little weekend trip. Jackie packs for the trip by putting a bunch of pills in a floss container, and that should get her through the weekend. While they're in the car home, Eleanor calls Jackie a few times and Jackie says she'll call her later, but Fiona goes ahead and just calls her back on her mom's cell phone. O'Hara is delighted to hear from Fiona and she asks how her new school is, and Fiona's like, my new school? So here's something I'm not clear on, and I think it's actually interesting that I have no idea. So was Jackie planning to also enroll Fiona in school? It's something that she and Kevin had talked about, but the cost was the major factor in not going through with it. Or was she going to tell O'Hara that Fiona was going to be enrolled in school and then just use the money for drugs? I don't know. It seems like a lot of money. I think she must have been planning on enrolling her as well, because that is something that O'Hara could easily catch, like, if Fiona's not in private school. Although I guess Jackie could always lie and say she has to start after Christmas or something. Kevin is pissed that Jackie took money from O'Hara, and he gets out of the car and just walks off. When Jackie and the girls get home, Kevin arrives home a little later. He called Eddie to have Eddie pick him up and drive him home. Tension between Jackie and Kevin has been growing for a while now. A few episodes ago, Kevin was upset that the whole time Jackie is ever home from work, she is just a, quote, shitstorm of fix it, fix it, fix it. And now with this betrayal about O'Hara and the money for the girls' school, she tells him, I keep telling you I'm no prize and you won't listen. Shortly after this fight, Jackie leaves her keys in the door and Kevin discovers that she has a key for a P.O. box. He goes to investigate what the P.O. box is and he finds all of the pharmacy bills. When she comes home, Kevin and O'Hara are waiting in the kitchen for her for Jackie's first intervention. O'Hara tells Jackie, quote, you broke my heart, Jackie. Therefore, the discovery of the P.O. box becomes a turning point, pushing Jackie towards recovery. The red tape represents major turning points in the show. Here's recovery. It's not intentionally the bi pride flag colors. It's just that those are the colors I've been using for all the little things on the wall. So, but she can be bi. I do kind of ship O'Hara and Jackie, and I'll throw out there now, O'Hara is canonically bisexual. She has a girlfriend in this season, so I love that for her. Kevin registers Fiona for private school and then goes to the hospital to talk to Jackie. Zoe is at the desk, and when Kevin introduces himself, she kind of freaks out because she didn't know that Jackie was married. Jackie has to lie to Kevin and say it's Zoe's first day. That's why she didn't know she was married. It's got to be super clear that, like, oh, everyone knows. It's just her first day, that's all. Eddie, who has been rehired at the hospital following the free-for-all with the Pillow-matic situation, which would blow the entire lie about him and Jackie not knowing each other. And that is season 2. And that's it for season 2. Once again, relatively simple, but it's continuing to build upon the groundwork laid in season 1. Many of Jackie's secrets are on the verge of being found out. She's being pushed towards recovery by O'Hara and by Kevin. With that said, I'm going to get the wall set up for season 3. Season 2 led us to a point where, perhaps for the first time, Jackie is realizing that her drug use may be threatening her relationship with O'Hara, as well as the stability of her family. It's also started to kind of bring up the idea of recovery for the first time. Recovery displayed here will be a sort of new base for many other things as the series progresses. But it was important to me that I keep her drug use separate on this chart from recovery because you get it. I'm sure you, viewer, are so smart and intuitive. I'm sure you understand why those are different things and why that matters narratively. This season, I want to talk about a fun little plot that has to do with Gloria. Since I'm not breaking down every sort of sitcom-esque plot of the series, it's sort of hard to emphasize how fucking hilarious Anna Devere Smith is as Gloria Acolytus. One of my favorite Gloria subplots is this season when we see her trying to jump rope in her office, and there is a picture of Michelle Obama nearby. The First Lady is going to be visiting a New York hospital, and it is down to the choice of Bellevue versus All Saints. Once again, All Saints is the hospital where Gloria and Jackie all work. Bellevue is kind of like the competitor hospital. Since Gloria Acolytus is a big admirer of Michelle Obama, she wants to win her love and get her to visit All Saints. So she's starting to launch a childhood obesity awareness program in hopes that that will draw Michelle's attention. Okay, on to the more serious matters. Eddie tells Jackie that he's tired of lying all the time, especially to Kevin, who he has become pretty good friends with. So he tells Jackie that they need to find some way to kind of simplify their lies. Right now, Eddie still has no idea that Jackie and Eddie know each other from anything other than Eddie being Kevin's friend. So Eddie is just exhausted. He cannot keep up with all of Jackie's lies and how quickly she is able to come up with new ways to cover things up. He calls her a world-class liar, and he would not be wrong. Jackie tells Eddie to tell Kevin that he lost his job and he's looking for a pharmacy job somewhere downtown. This will open up the opportunity for Kevin to tell Jackie that Eddie's looking for a job, and therefore, when Eddie gets the job at the hospital, it will just look like Jackie helped him out. Now they can be working together, they can be seen at the hospital together, and their whole cover isn't blown. It's just simplified a little bit more. Meanwhile, in the aftermath of Jackie breaking O'Hara's trust, O'Hara has started to look at jobs at other hospitals in the area. Jackie reminds her that it's not going to be that easy to get away from her because she has trained half the nurses in the city, so anywhere O'Hara goes, Jackie will be able to get to her within 30 minutes. Jackie then asks O'Hara to stay. Remember, they are besties. They were, walking around eating hot dogs together. They get lunch all the time. On the note of the hot dogs, that was something else I wanted to bring up. There's an episode where O'Hara does ecstasy at a party the night before, and then in the morning she's still high. Jackie kind of takes care of her and makes sure she's sober, of course, before she starts doing her doctorly things. But I feel like the presence of recreational drug usage throughout the series from other characters is so important to establishing that it's not just doing drugs sometimes that makes Jackie an addict. People recreationally use drugs. Sometimes it's not a good idea for them to do so, but the difference is that Jackie is an addict. So having other characters who occasionally use drugs prevents audiences from being overly reactionary to the use of drugs on screen. This isn't some euphoria shit, and I'm not saying that audiences can't handle any drug usage. I think contrasting Jackie's psychology with that of other characters is one of the things that prevents it from being some sort of weird cautionary tale about never picking up drugs or alcohol or sinful things in your life. That's not something that Nurse Jackie aims to do. I've already talked a bit about how other characters manipulate things and lie, and I'll continue to highlight some of those because they are crucial to the plot of the show as the series moves forward. Anyways, let's keep going. Early on in the season, there is a patient at the hospital who has a DNR, but the paramedics on the scene saved him anyway. And Jackie tells them that people got to stop trying to save people who don't want to be saved. Once again, I know you're a very perceptive and intellectual viewer who therefore realizes this is Jackie's way of saying out loud that she does not want to be saved. I think more importantly, perhaps, is she doesn't feel like there's anything to save her from. Yeah, things could be simpler in her life, but she hasn't reached a point where she feels like her addiction is any real problem. If anything, maybe a slight inconvenience to her. That's life, so she's gonna keep on going. Jackie begins sourcing her pills from a drug dealer named Bill, who claims to be someone who helps addicts get to the very bottom so that they'll want to become sober. Meanwhile, at home, Kevin's sister temporarily moves in with them, and this is when we learn that Kevin's parent was an alcoholic, which is where some of Kevin's baggage comes from. He and Jackie have been having a hard time navigating their marriage since the intervention. Jackie gets home from work one day and sees that several boxes of clothing are gone. Her first assumption is that Kevin has found out about the affair and left her, but this turns out not to be the case. Kevin simply took some things to the church to donate. Jackie then informs Kevin that she thinks some of the girls' baptism gowns were in one of the boxes, so she goes to the church to look for them. Within the boxes, she finds several small stashes of pills that she had tucked away in things like baby socks and mittens, which were all then hidden away in the basement for safekeeping. Jackie's keeping track of her pills on a calendar, laying them out so she knows exactly how much supply she has left. It appears she's using about 5 or 6 pills a day. At one point, when Jackie purchases pills from Bill, which are like $200 for 5 pills, it comes in a small box that has a 30-day AA chip in it. Later, Jackie sees Grace's web search history. She's been looking up things like demons and the devil, presumably for research on a school project about saints. It's more so the fact that you can view someone's search history and make assumptions about it. That sticks in Jackie's mind. Jackie then goes home and fills her search history with things like sobriety and how to stop drug cravings and AA meetings near me, things like that, so that Kevin, who also was aware of Grace's search history, will have the idea to look at Jackie's search history and assume that she is taking recovery seriously and trying to get sober. After one meeting/transaction with Bill, Sam catches Jackie and asks how she knows him. She explains that he is an epilepsy patient of hers and she was just chatting with him, checking in, and Sam tells her that he's an AAA sponsor and he's one of the best around. Luckily, Jackie was able to cover, but this could have gone downhill pretty quickly had Sam realized that something was off. There is a new nurse who comes to work at All Saints this season from Bellevue. We call him Kelly. His first subplot involves helping Gloria with the childhood obesity program because he wants to make sure that she can meet Obama if that is her dream. On the way to school, Grace drops all of her little saint prayer cards on the floor of the car. She starts to go into a panic, and Kevin promises that he will pick them all up and find every single one for her. So while he is searching on the car floor, he finds the floss pill container which Jackie dropped in the previous season. Chekhov's floss. This same day, Eddie is on the phone with somebody talking about fentanyl patches, explaining that they are about 100 times stronger than morphine. He then asks Kelly to deliver a bag up to oncology, presumably of fentanyl patches. Jackie runs into him in the hallway and offers to do the run for him since Kelly doesn't even know where the wing is yet. And then later, when Jackie goes home, Kevin confronts her about the pill case he found. She explains that they are old and that she is 30 days sober. She even withdraws the 30 days chip she got from Bill and shows it to Kevin and explains that she has been going to AA. I will point out, just as a reminder, that the pills are indeed something that just fell on the floor of the car. It is a little weird that Jackie would forget where they were. However, it's kind of plausible that she would leave them there intentionally, so that Kevin could find them and she would have an opportunity to present this AA chip to him. Because, yeah, at any time she could have just shown him the chip and said, yeah, I'm sober. It's a lot more effective for her in the long run if she uses it to get out of a sticky situation, because that will help her look more innocent in case she is caught in the future in similar situations. Kevin and Jackie hug, and with Jackie's arm wrapped around him, we can see the fentanyl patch is on her arm. A few short days later, Jackie has used the fentanyl patches she presumably stole, and we see her like taking off the patch and then rubbing what's left of it on her gums, just trying to get anything out of it she possibly can. So, with that resource depleted, she goes to see Bill again to purchase more pills. They are just outside of a building, and a statue falls down and just narrowly misses him. And it likely would have killed him. And Bill's like, whoa, that was crazy. And then he's, off on his way. He steps onto the road, and a truck comes and barrels him down. Sam had told Jackie that somebody in AA told a story that her boyfriend overdosed, but before the ambulance arrived, she took the drugs off of his dead body for herself. So, of course, in this moment, because we are really clever viewers, are thinking, oh my God, Jackie is going to get down on her knees and start rummaging through his pockets and find whatever drugs he has so she can take them for herself. But this is the night of Grace's saint pageant, and Jackie needs to be there for her. So she abandons Bill at the scene. I do want to note that, it's pretty clear this guy was dead on impact. So Jackie did not abandon an opportunity to save a patient. She simply abandoned potential drugs in favor of going to support Grace at this school event that she had been really worked up and nervous about. Eddie informs Kelly that 10 of the fentanyl patches never made it up to oncology. He explains that he handed the bag off to someone else and they took it upstairs because it was his first day. He didn't really know his way around yet. He promises Eddie, who is now under a lot of scrutiny, that he will fix this. I think it's important to point out that one reason this situation stresses Eddie out so much is because he has also in the past given Jackie tons of pills and not always been the most responsible or taken the most legal route when it comes to dispensing various medications. If he falls under scrutiny for someone else's mistake, then all of his misgivings could come to light and end up costing him his job or bigger legal consequences. Kelly goes and discusses the matter with HR, and he says that he doesn't remember who he handed the bag off to. Meanwhile, since Bill is now dead and Jackie has no fentanyl patches, she has started to suffer with some symptoms of withdrawal. She's sweaty as hell, she feels sick, she starts guzzling mouthwash and drinking cough syrup, literally anything she can to try and suppress the withdrawals until she can find another solution. During this time, her husband Kevin has to go out of town on a work trip. They are not in a place, and Jackie is not feeling well enough to go, so Kevin is just going to go by himself. HR calls Acolytus and they inform her that they think someone in the ER is abusing narcotics. This means that there will be mandatory urine tests for everyone. Additionally, Jackie is somehow singled out in all of this, meaning she is put on probation, so she is not allowed to administer or handle any drugs until after the urine tests come back and she is clean. Jackie immediately blames O'Hara as the one who singled her out, but O'Hara tells Jackie that she never said anything to Acolytus about her drug usage. Of course, Jackie is upset that she's on probation. She's upset that she has to submit herself to a urine test. She's upset that she has to draw attention to herself because she's on probation. If she has to go out of her way to tell doctors and other nurses that she can't handle the drugs because of probation, everyone's going to kind of assume what's going on there. And that is not a type of attention Jackie wishes to bring on herself. This also means that Jackie is unable to go to the pharmacy to fill a prescription for her daughter. Grace, after much discussion with her psychiatrist, has been prescribed a very small dose of Xanax to help ease her anxiety, which has continued to get worse in the last year. O'Hara fills Grace's meds once, and Jackie ends up taking a bunch of them. So O'Hara writes a refill prescription for Grace. It's pretty clear this will be the only time she's willing to do that, and she tells Jackie that she'd be happy to pay for her rehab or to prescribe whatever it is she needs that will actually help her get clean. She warns Jackie that she is in way over her head with all of this. Jackie using her daughter's pills is definitely one of the worst things she does in these first couple seasons. So I just wanted to not to defend Jackie, but since you may not have watched the show and I don't want to leave you wondering the whole time. This is the only time we see her messing with her daughter's prescription. Like, I think it was kind of a one and done thing, probably because of how humiliating it was to go to O'Hara and then be told she has to go to rehab because of it. Like, that is not worth it to Jackie, so she's just going to find another solution. Anyways, I just wanted to put that out there so you weren't left wondering about it. Later on, Jackie tells Kelly that she was in a car accident. She's been in some pretty bad back pain, so she stole 4 of the fentanyl patches. And Kelly admits to her that he stole 6 of them. You see why it's so important that Jackie is not the only one who does this kind of shit? Because it would just be so easy to just always blame her. It's just a mess. You know, Kelly was just fucking around and stole a handful of them. As far as we know, he is not an addict. One bright and beautiful day the next week, Acolytus informs Jackie that the entire nursing staff will be taking urine tests that day. So Jackie goes to take her urine test. Meanwhile, Kevin shows up at the hospital with the girls and he wants to see Jackie. This is when Zoe meets the girls for the first time. She is so fucking excited. So Jackie runs with O'Hara into the bathroom in an absolute panic because if Kevin has something important enough to talk to her about, that he needs to come to the hospital with the girls to do it. Honestly, the only possible explanation is that he knows about her and Eddie now. Maybe Eddie told him, maybe he found out somehow. One way or another, Jackie's fucking toast. Then Zoe comes into the bathroom all excited. Oh my god, your daughters are so cute. They're so pretty. And O'Hara and Jackie are just like, girl, get up. Now is not the time. But Zoe's whole thing is just doing things when it's not the time to do it. And I do love her for that. She's kind of baby girl. Okay. We have 3 bullet points left for the season. Jackie hands off her urine test to Acolytus in a little bag. And Acolytus is like, okay, thank you. I'll take this to HR. And Jackie's like, okay. So Acolytus goes away. Meanwhile, O'Hara takes Grace and Fiona to just kind of look around the hospital while Kevin and Jackie step aside to chat in a private room somewhere. Based on Kevin's demeanor, we can tell this is going to be a pretty serious conversation. One thing that Kevin says is, quote, "You can't just step outside of marriage and have an affair because things got hard," end quote. And of course, we're out here like, she's been caught. What now? Is caught rock bottom? She spent 3 seasons now keeping this big secret. Her drug usage is no longer as big of a secret now that O'Hara and Kevin know, and Acolytus is right on board. So now there's this like looming threat of Acolytus about to turn in her urine test to HR, and Kevin, who is confronting her, talking about affairs, about to kind of pull the rug out from under her regarding their marriage. So like, Jackie is just at the mercy of God at this point. And then Kevin tells Jackie that when he was out of town on that little business trip, he had an affair. Jackie has never been so fucking stunned in her life, let me tell you. So she sits on the floor to kind of soak this in. And Kevin says, "I fucked up. It's over. It will never happen again. You gotta believe me, Jackie." And Jackie replies, "Pack your bags." Upstairs, Acolytus steps off the elevator on the HR floor, and on her way down the hall, something overcomes her, and she tosses Jackie's urine sample in the trash. And the season ends. Okay, back to Kevin first, because when I tell you it was my turn to be stunned now, Jackie just flipped this whole thing on its head. She could have used this opportunity to come clean about what happened, to say, yeah, Kevin, we've done some fucked up things in our marriage. Let's try and unpack this and come to a solution. You know, there's so many things that Jackie could have done that I feel like would be perfectly acceptable for a character on a primetime dramedy to do. But Jackie has outlasted, outplayed, and decided to use the whole thing to just further cover her own secrets. So that one line, administered by Jackie and all formulated up in her brain, has done for the emotional and family side of Jackie as represented in this image here, what Acolytus's decision with the urine sample does for Jackie's career as a nurse and for all of the external threats that Jackie has been facing as the season started to come to a close. While Jackie's line has enabled her to continue her pattern of lying and manipulation, Gloria's tossing of the sample enables Jackie to continue down the path without fear of retribution from the bureaucracy of the hospital. So in season 3, it seems like Jackie is just getting away with everything. How is that even fair, you might be asking? Viewer, don't worry about that right now. We are only on season 3. There's a lot of things that can still go wrong with all the charades that Jackie is pulling. I'm going to go ahead and set up the wall for season 4. And when I come back, we will kind of take an assessment of where we stand going into the new season. Season 4 brings about some new changes at the hospital, which introduces a few new characters. So first of all, there's some corporate influence now at All Saints, from Quantum Bay, which is like, a corporation. With all that comes a new administrator, Miguel Cruz. He goes by Mike or Cruz. So he's kind of now the man in charge, and Gloria is essentially demoted back to a nurse. So Gloria is back on the floor as a nurse for the first time in a while. She does a great job. I mean, she knows how to work with patients. It's been a while since she's done it, so she has to, get her nurse legs back or whatever they say. For Jackie in the romance department, family Jackie right here, Kevin has moved out. He has his own place now, and the girls are with him sometimes and with Jackie sometimes. So the separation has been amicable enough. Since Jackie is the one who kicked Kevin out, she has kept the house and he has an apartment. Eddie asks Jackie at one point if she wants to hook up, and she says she's not really sure. So later, Eddie confronts her and asks if she was only into him because he gave her drugs. And she tells him she's not sure. She also can't answer whether or not she loves him. And Eddie says, "God help you, Jackie," and walks away. He's just kind of done with her. This scene hit me so hard the first time I watched the series, and then on my rewatch, I knew it was coming, so it didn't hit quite as hard. For the most part, I just couldn't believe how early this scene happens in the series, because it feels like it should be like a season 6 or 7 thing. It's like it just hurt, this realization for Eddie that Jackie may have only been with him because of the drugs. But Jackie doesn't need Eddie to get laid. And in fact, she goes out and meets a new man, and they hang out. He's like a younger man. She offers to buy this man a drink, and then they go back to her place and get high, and they make out, and then they do another hit, and then they're making out, and they're about to bone. Then the man collapses onto the floor and has a seizure, and Jackie tries to help him, but the man dies. Jackie calls O'Hara for help. So O'Hara comes over and she's like, "Oh, Jax, you silly dog." Jackie doesn't want to call the ambulance because that could cause issues for her in general. It could get police involved, it could get hospital involved. It could just cause a whole big mess if she is implicated in the death of this man. For Jackie in this moment, she is still calculating a plan. So she decides to call Zoe and Zoe's boyfriend Lenny, who is a paramedic. Jackie does not tell them that she knew this man, just that she was coming home and this man was stumbling outside and he appears to have overdosed. So Jackie brought him inside to try and help him, and that's that. So with the body taken care of thanks to the help of her friends, Jackie has a breakdown with O'Hara there. It's just the two of them, and Jackie breaks down and starts to cry, and Jackie tells O'Hara, "There's nothing left to wreck, but I just keep wrecking and I can't stop." And she tells O'Hara in tears that she thinks she needs to go to rehab. She says those words aloud. "I think I need to go to rehab." Now, what's interesting about this is that Jackie's turning point, as marked in red, is not losing her husband, because for her, it is not her actions that caused her to lose her husband. It is his actions. He's the one who cheated. She made him leave. As far as Eddie goes, I think she may still be hurting from their conversation earlier. I think Jackie's real turning point into accepting that maybe she does have a problem is when a patient dies on her watch. No, this man was not in the hospital, but in this moment she clicked into that nurse mode, and that part of her identity overtook anything else. That truck agrees with me. You heard that little honk. Honk if you love Jackie Payton. I didn't want to put a picture of this man who like dies after 2 seconds of screen time because it just doesn't feel appropriate. So I put Lenny's ambulance on the wall. This ambulance will come back up later in the season, used a little differently. I'm very artistic, so things on my wall can mean more than one thing. So stupid. Anyways, it's incredibly compelling to me that Jackie's turning point, once again marked in red, only comes when she fails as a nurse to save this patient. When this patient, the man who she was going to hook up with, dies under her watch, she considers that an insult to her identity as a nurse or a failing to her identity as a nurse. It's because of the affiliation that drugs has with that failing that Jackie realizes she needs help. This is just, to me, this is my opinion. There's other ways to interpret this, I'm sure. This is just how I see it fitting in the grand purpose of things. So, Jackie admits she needs help. Amazing. So proud of her. Let's go back to the hospital now. So, as I said, Mike Cruz is in charge of the whole sale with Quantum Bay thing, and he is trying to get some of the paperwork sorted out. But what he discovers is that Jackie Payton's file is just empty. She's worked there forever. There's like her hiring date, and that's literally it. So Mike Cruz has no complaints, no paperwork, no urinalysis tests, which he should have because the entire nursing staff was tested on October 14th, which Gloria threw away her sample for. So that's where that is. Her whole file is empty, which is very weird. He does call Jackie into his office to discuss this with her, and Jackie has no idea why that would be. She tells him that Dr. Coop complains about her at least once a week, so she should have plenty of complaints in her file, but he just can't find a damn thing. Jackie then goes to inform Gloria that she needs to cash in some of her vacation days and personal days. She will be taking several days off, and Gloria asks how many, and Jackie says 28. And Gloria knows exactly what this means without Jackie having to spell it out for her. Gloria doesn't say much to her. She doesn't overly express her support. She isn't happy that Jackie's taking the 28 days off, but she doesn't shame her, nor does she praise her for this. She just tells her to do what they tell her to do. Before going to rehab, Jackie tells Kevin and the girls that she is going on a several-week-long training since there is new leadership at the hospital. It's this new thing that all the nurses have to go through. So that's her lie to them. Like, she doesn't even want them to know she's going to rehab. I think she's ready to admit to herself that she has a problem, but it's a whole different thing to admit this to Kevin and a whole different thing to admit it to the girls. So that's not something she's ready to do yet. Just before Jackie is set to go into rehab, Eddie stops by Kevin's while the girls are home. They are playing like Dance Dance Revolution. They have their headphones on, so they can't hear anything, but Eddie stops by and he tells Kevin that he and Jackie were having an affair for several years. Kevin proceeds to beat the shit out of him. The girls do not notice because they are too distracted by their Wii. They are giving representation to all the kids whose parents were divorcing while they played Wii Sports in 2010. When O'Hara takes Jackie to drop her off at rehab, O'Hara set the whole thing up and presumably is paying the bill for all of this. She tells Jackie that she needs her to get better because she is 16 weeks pregnant. She didn't want to tell Jackie until she got through the first trimester and she knew everything was healthy, but she is pregnant and Jackie is thrilled for her. Okay, on to rehab, which I have marked with this orange R because I wasn't talented enough to cut out small bubble letters for the rest of the word rehab. We're just gonna use the R. I hope that's okay. The reason I chose to distinguish rehab from recovery in general is just because the rehab is an element of her recovery, but rehab is not the same thing as her recovery and her sobriety. If her sobriety is threatened, it's not the rehab that's being threatened, it's her sobriety. I hope that makes sense. Jackie's first group session, the lead counselor asks her to introduce herself to everyone, talk about herself, and all she says is, "Hi, my name's Jackie, and I'm a nurse." Jackie becomes acquainted with a young man at rehab. His name is Charlie. He is 17. I have him on the wall here. He is kind of snarky and sassy and honest, which Jackie appreciates because she's still pretty cynical about most of the work they're actually doing at rehab. In her first few days, she goes through detox and withdrawals, and then she joins the group several days in, which is when she introduces herself as a nurse. We also learn in this episode that Jackie's birthday is August 22nd, so I wrote that down because I felt that it was really important. Upon being a little bit difficult in the group session, Jackie's counselor tells her that she did not get this sick by herself, and that is why discussing things like her family and her friends and work are a part of the rehab process, a part of the journaling she has to do, a part of the counseling she has to do, because Jackie does not and cannot exist in a bubble. There are people who have enabled her addiction, and learning to understand that is an important part of her recovery. At one point, Jackie makes some offhand comment about having a drug problem, and the woman tells Jackie she doesn't have a drug problem, she's an addict. And that doesn't excuse her behavior, but it's something that can help explain it. And I feel that is something that is important to this video as well. She will not be able to maintain her sobriety until she does take accountability. But at the same time, it's important to understand why she is making all of the choices she's making and telling the lies she is and sacrificing the things she is. It's all part of a complex system that's working together. Hopefully Jackie will start to unpack some of that in the coming days in rehab. Jackie and Charlie have a nice conversation when they're hiding together in a supply closet. She reveals to him that she had Grace when she was 33. She never puts any medical name to it, but it sounds like she may have been struggling with postpartum. She stole 100 tabs of Percocet from the hospital and never looked back, and that is where she really started using not the bad back injury as we were told in the pilot episode, or like she used to explain to Kelly earlier on in the previous season. So for once, Jackie is being pretty vulnerable with someone in conversation about her addiction. One thing about Charlie is his dad is really rich, so he has a secret cell phone in rehab, which he is not supposed to have. At one point, Jackie tattles on him for this, because doing so will give her the chance to sit at the front desk of the rehab facility so that Grace can come in and see her for a few minutes. So Grace comes for a visit, which is just not allowed. You're not supposed to see your family during this period of rehab, but Jackie breaks those rules. So Jackie is called into the counselor's office, and the counselor tells her to pack her bags and go home. She came to rehab to be held accountable, and this is accountability. She broke the rules. She is not welcome here. But Jackie insists that she wants to stay, so she opens up to the counselor about the Percocet. She also tells her, please don't kick Charlie out for breaking the rules because he will be dead within a week. The counselor then tells Jackie that she is concerned because it seems like Jackie doesn't think that she is just as sick as Charlie is. Jackie starts packing her things in her room, and then the counselor comes in and she tells her that it seems like Jackie is fine with being thrown out because then she can use that as an excuse, like, oh, I went to rehab, I tried, but they threw me out. She tells Jackie just to come and see her next time, and that the only life she gets to save is her own. So Jackie gets to stay, but it's clear that she is going to need to start taking this more seriously. Jackie has a roommate named Doris, who is an older lady who's been complaining about everything ever since she and Jackie have been living in a room together. One night she wakes Jackie up in the middle of the night. She's like bitching and complaining, and Jackie gets up to get her some water. And then Jackie goes over to her bed and she realizes that Doris is having a stroke. So she goes into the hallway and yells for them to call an ambulance and then tends to Doris. She essentially saved Doris's life. And the counselor says to Jackie, fine, you saved a life. Happy? And Jackie says, yes, I'm happy. This becomes the turning point for Jackie, where she starts to take rehab seriously. It's as though rehab has become some sort of medical exercise for her, rather than addressing the real issues that lie within her. And so, since she is there solely for the love of her profession, which is her identity, she finally begins to take it seriously. I think it's so genius that Jackie introduces herself to the group at rehab as a nurse. The only time she really takes rehab seriously is when it follows a model she's familiar with from her career as a nurse. She does start doing the steps, she starts journaling, she starts doing everything she is asked to do. And then on day 15 of rehab, Jackie breaks the news to the group that she thinks she's ready to go home. Her counselor informs her this is a 28-day program. You are on day 15. You are not equipped to leave. You will fall apart. But Jackie insists. She simply does not care. She wants to go back to work, and so she leaves voluntarily. On her first day back at work, one of Jackie's patients is a young woman who is in extreme amount of pain, and so she is just wailing and wailing in pain, and it clearly affects Jackie because she's an empath. And Coop, at one point, Dr. Coop then insults Jackie's hair, and it makes Jackie run off and start crying. And she says to O'Hara, "So now I'm gonna feel stuff?" Which is just not fair. She didn't do all that work so she could feel worse. Now that she's back from her alleged trip to Disneyland, which is what she told all of her coworkers she was doing, Kelly gives her a little welcome home present. 4 fentanyl patches. Then Eddie also tells Jackie that he told Kevin about the two of them. She does contemplate using then and there, but she ultimately decides to call Kevin, who tells her that he will be keeping the girls for an extra night. Jackie then turns the 4 fentanyl patches and Kelly into Mike Cruz. She does not have any remorse for doing so because at this point she will not let anything threaten her sobriety. Grace tells Jackie in front of Zoe that she knows she wasn't at Disneyland but that she was actually in rehab, and so Jackie decides to tell Kevin where she really was, not wanting to try and worry about keeping any more secrets. Grace already knows, who is probably the last person she wanted to find out, so now there's really nothing else left to lose. As she continues to struggle to maintain her sobriety, Jackie decides to call Charlie, who should be out of rehab by now. She invites him to go to an AA meeting with her. This episode is so stressful to watch because Jackie is just met with one thing after another where you're like, yeah, she's gonna use. Yep, she's gonna do it. Yep, that's gonna be it. But she finds a different solution every single time. So this time she goes to an AA meeting. Charlie and Jackie meet up to chat, catch up, and Charlie is high, having already relapsed again. The next time we see Charlie on screen, he is waiting to meet up with his dad, who turns out is Mike Cruz. We will have time to further delve into the implications of that soon. For now, Kevin stops by the hospital to ask Eddie more about Jackie's drug usage. He's asking him what kind of drug she was taking, what the dosage was, how often she was using these pills, whether or not she ever used them when she was around the kids, anything he can think of, and he's taking note of all of these answers. Later, Jackie comes face to face with another threat to her sobriety when a patient who was dying gives her some Vicodin. Jackie throws the Vicodin in the dumpster, walks away, and then turns around and walks back to the dumpster, dives in, looks for the Vicodin, but decides to walk off without it. Jackie starts experiencing some shoulder pain after an incident at work, and she goes to Eddie, who puts some ice on it for her. Obviously, in the past, he would have just given her some painkillers for it, but she has to find a different solution this time. She also takes this opportunity to apologize to Eddie for how messy everything is, for lying to him, for putting him in this situation with Kevin. And he tells her that Kevin has been around and asking questions about her drug use. So Jackie decides to call Kevin and ask him to have lunch together. He texts her back about having lunch at their favorite place on 17th Street. She kind of sees this as her chance to win Kevin back. Now that she knows she may not be interested in Eddie if not for the drugs, she thinks maybe she can still have a shot at getting her family back together. So Jackie shows up, she sits and waits for Kevin, and a different man arrives, and Jackie is served with divorce papers. Jackie first orders a Jameson double on the rocks, but then she says, no, wait, she will have an iced tea, a turkey club, slay, and a slice of pie. And then she calls Charlie. So despite all the trials that Jackie is facing, she is really committed to her sobriety now. She's also really relying on the support that she does have, who she's comfortable being vulnerable with, and who won't judge her for these problems, to help her through these weeks. Even though Charlie has relapsed, I think Jackie still feels some accountability with him. Maybe it is similar to the dynamic she feels with Grace, where she wants to be a good role model. Okay, on to a little bit of a happier plot. Thank fucking God. We need to have a little balance. Zoe is looking for a new place to live. She's looking for a roommate. After hanging up wanted signs for roommate all over the place, Jackie says that she has space at her house since the girls are with their dad most of the time. And this leads to one of my favorite scenes in the series, which is the first night that Zoe spends at Jackie's house. And Jackie is like, I could make us pancakes in animal shapes. And Zoe is so excited that she starts dancing. They just laugh. It's so wholesome. Truly one of the most beautiful scenes on the entire show. I fucking love this scene. You can find it on YouTube if you're interested. If you look up like Nurse Jackie pancake scene. Well, okay, we danced, we LOL'd, and now we have to serious again because Jackie has a nightmare that she used and that O'Hara ended their friendship because of it. And then Jackie wakes up in a hospital bed and is like, oh my god, I had a crazy dream. O'Hara's like, oh no, that wasn't a dream, that was real. And then Jackie wakes up from that dream. So obviously she's pretty nervous about relapse. Jackie then gets a call from Kevin's lawyer. He is suing for custody, and he also wants child support and the house. Under her desk at work, Jackie finds one last pill, which she must have dropped at some point. She wants to take it, but she doesn't, and instead she tells O'Hara about it. So now we see her seeking more support from people other than Charlie. She ends up trading the pill with O'Hara for a pair of shoes. O'Hara is anxious and excited about her pregnancy, and Jackie is anxious about her divorce and possibly losing her kids. So O'Hara tells her that they are going to get her the very best lawyer that money can buy and that she will pay for it. So with O'Hara by her side, Jackie meets with this lawyer. There are essentially two parts to her plan. One, they need to build Jackie up. So this means she needs to go to AA meetings. She needs to get slips signed saying that she was in attendance. She needs to get incredible character references from the highest people she can imagine. The woman is like, you might be thinking, your coworkers, your boss. No, we need governors. We need the president. And Jackie's like, fuck. And then the other thing is they have to tear Kevin down, which Jackie does not want to get on board with. Like, spiting Kevin is not what she wants to do. She just doesn't want to lose her kids. So there's a couple things they can work off of. One, he owns a bar. The kids are always hanging out at the bar. Probably not the best environment for a kid. At least they could present it that way in front of a judge. Two, he ripped the kids away from their mother. So those are all things they can use against Kevin while also building Jackie's case up. Charlie goes with Jackie once again to an AA meeting, and at one point she picks up his smoothie and takes a sip of it, and he knocks it out of her hand. So they start bickering and they get thrown out of the AA meeting, and Jackie is like, oh, I need you to sign my slip before I leave. Do you mind? And the woman won't sign it. So when they get outside, Jackie snaps at Charlie. She was given one specific set of instructions to get her kid back. So at this point, to Jackie, AA meetings are starting to become part of the deal to keep her kids. It's not just something she's doing for herself that will benefit her family and her kids. It is, she needs to go as this transaction to get a signature to show to the judge so she can keep her kids. Charlie then confesses to her that there was Vicodin in the smoothie. That's why he knocked out of her hand. He didn't think she would drink it. And this leads Jackie to tell Charlie that they are done. Jackie immediately goes to the hospital and glugs a whole bottle of something to induce vomiting so that the Vicodin doesn't hit her system fully, because she is committed to maintaining her sobriety for the sake of her kids. Cruz agrees to write a character reference for Jackie, which will be a huge help in this court matter. During this meeting with Cruz, Charlie calls her, so she steps out saying that it's her kid. On the phone, Charlie promises to never bother her again, but he needs one favor first. He needs her to come bail her out of jail. She goes and picks him up. They get a cab. She takes him home, and she tells him that they need to call his father and tell him what happened. So Jackie takes him home, and they wait for his father to get there so that she can tell him what's going on. And then Mike Cruz returns home, and this is how he discovers Jackie knows his son, and how Jackie discovers that Cruz is Charlie's dad. Jackie spends the night talking with Cruz. He's upset that she is sober and Charlie isn't. During the night, Charlie also makes a crack about how drugs are hard to get if you're not working at a hospital and fucking the pharmacist for drugs. In the morning, they take Charlie back to rehab. Charlie agrees to go if Cruz will promise not to fire Jackie. Cruz makes the promise with him. He then looks into when the last mandatory drug test was, which was October 14th. Then he starts making calls to ask about security footage from that day. On the emergency room security tape, Cruz sees Gloria getting on the elevator, presumably to go up to the HR department, so he makes some more calls, and it seems like he is on her trail. And then we get a deposition with Kevin's divorce lawyer and Eddie explains that he never saw Jackie do drugs around the kids. Eddie is so upset by this deposition and how terrible Kevin is being that he decides to go to Jackie and tell her more information that might help her, which is that when Kevin beat him up, the girls were home. Jackie just thought that Kevin beat Eddie up. She didn't know the girls were involved yet. Now she knows. And so that is something that she is going to bring up to the judge and to the lawyers involved. Back at the hospital, Cruz fires Eddie as part of an ongoing narcotics investigation. And then Cruz calls Jackie into his office and shows her the security footage of Gloria dropping Jackie's urine specimen into the trash. He then calls Gloria into the room, and while Jackie sits there watching, he fires Gloria. He tells Jackie that he will not have people who enabled Jackie or covered her tracks working there. So everything is kind of falling apart in some ways. Jackie will probably be better off if there aren't people who are enabling her around the hospital. But the big reason that Jackie has her job and the others don't is because of the promise that Cruz made to Charlie. Jackie naturally feels terrible about Eddie and Gloria losing their jobs because she deeply cares about them both, and they've worked together forever. To make everything even worse, Kevin goes over that night to confront Jackie about telling the lawyers about Kevin beating Eddie up when the girls were there. After this whole fight, Zoe tells Jackie that maybe she should find another place to live as soon as possible because, quote, "You're a private person, and if I see things you're not used to other people seeing, you're going to like me less, even if you don't mean to." Jackie then opens up to her and tells her that she had a bad night the night before because a friend relapsed and had to go back into treatment, and she doesn't want that to happen to her as well. Then she asks Zoe to stay. The emergency room is understaffed. Beds are full, everything is backed up, patients are waiting several hours for simple test results. Shit has hit the fan, and Cruz doesn't know how to handle this. Really is not a very capable administrator because he's got his hands tied by a corporation, and now Gloria is not there to get the shit fixed up. So without Gloria there, shit is just falling apart. At one point, a desperate patient asks who's in charge, and Jackie announces, I am in charge." And she starts calling all these shots. She points to someone and says, "You make a call, get 7 temp nurses set up here. You do this, you do this, you do," like, Jackie is in charge. That's how the penultimate episode ends. In the season finale, Cruz fires Jackie, and she melts down in O'Hara's office. She says that everything was fine until she got sober. Jackie later makes a comment to Cruz saying, "Nice job keeping a promise to your son," and Cruz replies that he doesn't give a shit what his son wants. And Jackie says, quote, "That right there, that's the difference between you and me." For most of the season now, Grace has been struggling, and in particular, she's been begging her parents to send her to public school. Her current school is just not a great fit for her, and she knows some of the girls at the public school already. That's where she wants to go. But up until now, Jackie hasn't had the time or energy or the interest in taking her to finish the registration process. After saying this to Cruz, she leaves and goes and pulls Grace out of school in the middle of the day. The two of them come running down the hallway together to freedom, and there's a no running sign displayed behind them. It's such a beautiful scene. She takes Grace and she gets her set up at a new school, and Grace is very pleased. And then Jackie goes and checks in at an AA meeting real quick. O'Hara soon goes into labor, and Jackie rushes to the hospital because she wants to be by her side when the baby is born. But she is kind of banned from the hospital, so she has to sneak in past Cruz, but he catches her. Jackie pleads with him, begs, explains she is only there until O'Hara has her baby, and then she will leave. She's not there to cause any trouble. She's just there for her best friend. Cruz reluctantly agrees, but says she needs to be out of there the second the baby is out. As Jackie is about to get onto the elevator, she overhears and sees a new trauma being brought in, an overdose. I just got chills. The bed comes around the corner, and she sees Charlie. Dr. Cooper is supposed to bring O'Hara's things up to her birthing suite for her, but instead, Jackie yells at him as fierce as she's ever yelled in her life, that instead he needs to report to trauma immediately. And Cruz is like, "No, I'm the trauma guy. What are you waffling about?" Jackie won't elaborate. She says, "Cooper, now." And then Cruz turns around and ends up seeing that it is Charlie who is the patient. Cruz and Jackie both rush into the trauma room and try and resuscitate Charlie, but it is too late and Charlie passes away. Soon after, Jackie goes upstairs and sees O'Hara, and she has had a beautiful baby boy. She's healthy and the baby is healthy. O'Hara is so happy that Jackie found a way to make it upstairs, and She tells her, you made it. Jackie replies, I made it. I fucking made it. So although Charlie, a trusted friend, is gone, Jackie is still fighting. Just this season, she has made it through some of the most difficult things she has yet to face, and she did it sober. I think maybe one question that people ask about this season finale is why Charlie had to die. Based on interviews from the Nurse Jackie creative team and Edie Falco herself, Charlie had to die because it is realistic. He was in rehab 5 times, and Jackie said herself that if he didn't get sober soon, he was going to end up dead. So that's number 1. Number 2, it reminds us of just how high the stakes are, which is important to propel us into the following seasons. And not just the stakes for Jackie maintaining her sobriety, but also the stakes of the mother-daughter relationship that Jackie has with her daughter Grace. I don't think it's a coincidence that this is also the episode where she finally pulls her out of private school and puts her into public school, nor is it a coincidence that she states that she cares a lot about what Grace thinks and feels. So this is not to say that Charlie died or that he was an addict because his dad didn't love him as much as Jackie loves Grace. No, that is not what I mean. There are things that come in seasons 5 and 6 that I feel are really set up by first modeling one type of parental relationship between an addict and a parent. And number 3, it bookends season 4 with 2 deaths that represent some sort of turn for Jackie. The season premiere death, which is what pushed her to realize she did have a problem and make her want to go to rehab. And now this one, although she tried to save Charlie, it was so far out of her hands. I don't think Charlie's death is a threat to her in the same way. Maybe that's because of the work she's been doing, where she has been letting things go and giving them over to a higher power. What a fucking depressing ending. What a fucking depressing ending. I think that's it for season 4. I'll see you when the season 5 wall is up. Before we dive right into season 5, I want to talk a little bit about one of the teasers that was like a behind the scenes glimpse into season 5 prior to season 5's premiere airing on Showtime. So it's just kind of a like, we're coming back soon. Here's what we'll get up to this season. In the trailer, we learn that Jackie is still sober and that she's in a new period of her life. One of the most striking things in the trailer is when Edie Falco comments, because Jackie is doing better and has some time to explore who she really is, she comes across a terrifying question of, what if the thing that is really deep down for Jackie behind everything is joy? Oh my god, the trailer for I'll Be Right There just fucking dropped. Okay, we now interrupt this coverage of Nurse Jackie to bring you my live reaction to the I'll Be Right There trailer starring Edie Falco and Bradley Whitford. Oh my god. Oh, she looks good.
See anybody else?
Oh!
It's amazing.
Okay. Oh my god, Bradley Whitford looks so cute. That fit. Oh, I'm seated. Okay, I'm gonna have to tweet some screenshots of that later, but I need to sit my ass down and film. I gotta lock in. Wow, what a fun little thing. Okay, I don't know about you guys, but I have Google alerts on for Edie Falco, Allison Janney, and Mary Louise Parker because I don't want to miss anything. Back to Nurse Jackie, season 5. So it's 4.5 months later, and Jackie is still sober. Couple things have changed in the hospital. Mike Cruz, gone. Gloria has returned to her post as ER administrator. O'Hara has just returned, like today, from her maternity leave. We also have a new resident, Dr. Carrie Roman, and there is a new trauma doctor who will be coming in shortly named Ike Prentice. He's an interesting character, but like Dr. Cooper, his plots don't really interact too much with Jackie's, which is why he's not on the wall. The first big patient this season is a football player who is in a car accident. He's brought into the ER and he tells Jackie that he was on his way to the party, and in order to hide some evidence from cops, he swallowed 3 condoms full of drugs. So Jackie has to help him shit them out, and she tucks one of the condoms full of drugs into her scrub top pocket for later, maybe for use. We're not sure. As far as we know, Jackie is still sober. The Pillomatic, which seemingly replaced Eddie after Cruz fired him, is just not going very well. Eddie kind of waltzes into the pharmacy and is like, I'll get you guys whatever you need. And he saves the day in order to prevent the hospital from getting into legal trouble. Gloria is like, well, I guess you're working here and you were working here when you did all this. So welcome back. So yeah, Gloria and Eddie are restored to their previous positions. So things are looking pretty good for Jackie. Her friends are back at the hospital. She's doing well in her job. Yeah, she stole a condom of drugs, but she hasn't taken any. She is still sober. And then Dr. O'Hara breaks the news to Jackie that she's decided she's going to move back home to England and raise her baby there, where she can have, presumably, her sister help her, and she can just spend more time with the baby. Jackie tries to reason with O'Hara, and she begins to tell her that she is the only thing keeping her sober. But before she can finish her sentence, she is cut off by the baby. And Jackie realizes that it is for the best for O'Hara to focus on the baby rather than trying to help Jackie any longer with her sobriety. And it's time for O'Hara to move on with her life. So tragically, this is the last time we see Eve Best as Dr. O'Hara as a series regular. She will return for 3 episodes in the future. I won't spoil anything, but it's very sad to see her go. It is the day before Jackie's birthday. Jackie calls Kevin to ask if she can have the girls for her birthday. That goes against their original, weekly agreement, but it's her birthday, so she's hoping Kevin will make an exception. But Kevin ends up calling Jackie and saying no, he's going to keep things as they were scheduled because he thinks that kind of stability is better for the girls. This is when Jackie tucks the condom of drugs into her pocket and she ends up taking it home with her. She flushes the drugs down the toilet with the exception of one pill, which she tucks into the box with her wedding ring in her nightstand drawer. The pill depicted here, there's a continued struggle over the custody agreement between her and Kevin. Kevin wants to put the girls through psych testing. It's becoming this whole big thing that Jackie just feels is not for the best for the girls. Jackie receives birthday flowers from her father and she throws away the card, and that's pretty much all we ever learn about Jackie's dad. I wish we got a little bit more, but at the same time, I appreciate that the show doesn't spend all this time, talking about like Jackie's traumatic childhood is the reason she's doing these things. We really stay in the present and it keeps things active, it keeps things moving. In conversation with Jackie, Zoe is using some very therapist type speech, which Jackie raises a brow to, and Zoe explains that she has been going to Al-Anon meetings because she wants to better understand and support Jackie, which is just so sweet. I fucking love Zoe. Still upset about having to spend her birthday without her daughters, Jackie makes a call to Charlie's cell phone and leaves a voicemail to him. She kind of uses the voicemail box to vent to when she needs it, and she tells him, I just keep wondering when I'm supposed to get to the happy part. When Jackie gets home from work, the girls are there waiting for her, and Zoe explains that she talked to Kevin herself and convinced him to let her have the girls for the night. So they get to celebrate her birthday together, and as an additional surprise, Dr. O'Hara is waiting for Jackie on a Zoom call to join the celebration. Jackie and Kevin finally have the meeting with their lawyers that will finalize their divorce. They go their separate ways, and then Jackie, because she's listening to a self-help tape in the car and like fiddling with the radio, rear ends Kevin. She wakes up in the hospital and Kevin immediately accuses her of using, but Jackie swears she is clean. One really silly thing in this episode is that Zoe is so excited to be Jackie's nurse. Jackie is just not having it. But Zoe explains that she's the one who has to be her nurse because everyone else is scared of Jackie. Jackie is in a little bit of pain, so Dr. Rowan just goes ahead and writes her a prescription for Oxy. We then see Jackie at the pharmacy, and every single time I'm like, oh my fucking God. The pharmacist is like, oh, you know how to use these, right? And Jackie's like, oh yeah, I know how to use them. But she's not picking up the Oxy, she's just picking up some icy hot patches because she is committed to her sobriety. The cop who takes the accident report is a man named Frank, and he's also recently divorced, and he asks Jackie to go out with him, and she's like, Jackie reluctantly agrees. He gives her his number and says if she's interested to give him a call. Zoe finally moves out of Jackie's, having found an apartment of her own. It's so cute because before she signs the lease, she asks Jackie to come check out the place with her. While Jackie considers the future of her love life, she and Eddie have a discussion. It's basically a what are we talk, if you will. But Jackie ends up going out with Frank. They just go out for coffee, and They talk for hours. During the conversation, Jackie tells him that her mother was an alcoholic. So again, these last few episodes are kind of the only time we ever really hear Jackie talk about her parents. They have a really great time on their date, and Frank implies he would like to go out with her again. Jackie opens up to him and tells him she is a drug addict in recovery. She works 70-hour weeks, but Frank is still interested, so they plan to go out again. There is some other trouble at home when Jackie finds out that Grace is ditching school to spend time with her 17-year-old boyfriend. She's like 14 at this point and a freshman in high school. It's so icky. Grace keeps lying to her mother, and she says she's going to watch the Hunger Games with her friends, but she actually goes to a nightclub where her friends are doing drugs, and she is dancing with a 17-year-old who also got into the nightclub. On that same night, Jackie goes out to dinner with Frank, but during the date, she gets a phone call from Charlie's phone. She's obviously startled to see his name on the phone, but she answers, and it's Cruz. He's asking to speak to Jackie as soon as possible. So Jackie tells Frank that she needs to go and it has something to do with her kids. He understands. He has 2 boys himself. It's not a big deal, but Jackie goes over to Cruz's. He starts crying when he talks about Charlie. Then he kisses Jackie, and then they fuck. And while they are fucking, Grace calls Jackie's phone like 10 times. When Jackie finally realizes Grace has been calling her, she runs the hell out of that apartment to go rescue Grace. Jackie calls Frank in the morning to apologize. He says they'll talk again soon, and it's all okay, but he's on his way across town right now, so he can't chat until later. A little while later, the hospital gets a call that a cop has been shot at the same location where Frank told Jackie he was going. So now Jackie is in a panic that when she finally started to have something that might be going right in her life, now maybe he's fucking dead. But luckily, it's just his partner, and they're able to save him. But the whole scare was kind of a lot for Jackie, and it really shook her up. And I think it starts to push her into some emotions she is not equipped yet to handle. At Jackie's house, Frank and Jackie might finally hook up, but then Kevin randomly waltzes in. They get into an argument, and that turns Frank off, and he says that maybe he should just come back another night instead. So it seems that the nature of Jackie and Kevin's tumultuous relationship and hearing Jackie yell at this man has made Frank realize he needs to take a bit of a step back. So now not only is Jackie dealing with external forces that may be threatening her relationship, which is such as the fact her new boyfriend could be shot in the line of duty, but also her history and the way that her relationships have evolved have also begun to pose a threat to new relationships. Zoe tells Jackie that she thinks some of the reason she might be struggling is because she left rehab early. She is not following the steps of AA. Now all of that is haunting her with Frank. So Jackie goes to an AA meeting, and when she speaks, she recognizes that she hasn't really been sticking to the program. She's just kind of doing things her own way, and she feels like it's working for her, or she felt like it was. But now she's not so sure. So this is when Jackie doubles down and starts to take the program as structured a little more seriously. She goes and makes amends with Kevin. She tells him, I'm an addict. I don't want to be. I didn't ask to be. But she still takes accountability for her actions and apologizes for the ways that she has hurt him and hurt their family because of her addiction. Meanwhile, Grace is with Danny snorting some sort of medication. It appears to be Adderall. She is possibly self-medicating. Either way, these are non-drugs prescribed to her. She is 14 years old, and her 17-year-old boyfriend is enabling her. Grace is then caught with a bag of Adderall in her backpack. She tells Zoe that they were her mom's, and she took them so that Jackie wouldn't use them. This is a lie. We know this to be a lie. Jackie says she doesn't have any drugs whatsoever because she wouldn't threaten her sobriety like that. And Grace says, what about the one in your nightstand? This is when we hear Jackie's rationalization to Zoe that the reason she has held on to the pill is to serve as a reminder of everything she has lost because of her addiction. Zoe is somewhat sympathetic, but she points out to her, quote, but it's a pill that you didn't throw away, and that if she were in Grace's position, she would probably be worried too. Jackie tells Zoe that just because she let her into her life and lets Zoe see her as vulnerable sometimes, it doesn't mean that she can take this shit from her, so she wants Zoe to just leave her alone. Following the incident with Grace having a bunch of drugs on her, Jackie decides to tell Kevin that she thinks the girl should live with him full time. Jackie may truly feel like this is the best things for the girls at this point. She doesn't want Grace to go any further down this dangerous road, especially after seeing the harm it can have on the parent-child relationship, such as with Cruz and Charlie. But on the other hand, giving up custody of her kids gives Jackie one less reason to stay sober. While her sobriety, just for the sake of sobriety, should be the most important thing, we know Jackie better than that by now, and we know where Jackie's progress in the program is. She does not make her sobriety her number one priority. She makes her children or her job her number one priority and stays sober in order to ensure she can keep those things. In the season finale, we are now approaching 1 full year of Jackie being sober. There will be a special celebration for her at her AA meeting that night. At the hospital that day, Zoe asks Jackie for an apology. This is a major turning point in their relationship, as indicated by this red line here, where Zoe, likely because she is taking the program pretty seriously as a friend to Jackie and attending Al-Anon meetings, been pretty dedicated to making sure she is not enabling Jackie in any way. So just Zoe acknowledging that the way that Jackie treated her earlier was not okay is a wonderful development in Zoe and Jackie's relationship, and for just Zoe as a character, because in season 1 she had no fucking backbone. Love her to death, but that was like a whole bit, you know? Now she is such a competent and compassionate woman and truly a good friend to Jackie. So this transformation and this scene is so good. Jackie does apologize to Zoe, and then she asks her, please come to her ceremony that night. As the workday comes to an end, Jackie pays a visit to the chapel in the hospital and speaks directly to the Mother Mary statue. She says, quote, "It's been a year today, but nothing changes. Everything I did, all of it, it never goes away, does it?" Jackie and Frank have a brief fight, but they end up making up, and Jackie tells Frank that she loves him. We then see Jackie getting ready for her ceremony. She gets all dressed up, puts on makeup. Just before she leaves, she sits down on her bed, opens her nightstand drawer, takes out her wedding ring box, withdraws the single pill she left inside of it, and swallows the pill. Jackie then goes to her 1-year sobriety ceremony. Even O'Hara has come to celebrate the occasion, and Jackie gets up at the podium in front of her friends and family and introduces herself. "Hi, my name is Jackie," she says, "and I am an addict, and today I am sober for 1 year." How did this happen? Well, season 5 clearly established that Jackie was not fully committed to the program. She was doing things her own way. Unfortunately, that means she never set up the structure needed to maintain her sobriety. Additionally, one thing Edie Falco has said in interviews that may give viewers a little bit more of a glimpse into Jackie's psychology here is, when you have a bad day, go to a meeting. If you have a good day, go to 2. Because for many addicts, you're more likely to relapse once you think you are out of the woods and it's no longer something you're struggling with as much anymore. Because Jackie hits that 1-year mark, it's possible that she felt a weight off her shoulders. So in that moment, she became very vulnerable to relapsing. I think to wrap up this season, I just want to summarize 3 of the seeds season 5 planted that will flourish in season 6 and 7. 1, the relationship between Jackie and Grace, particularly Grace's steady movement towards drugs and bad influences in her life. 2, the dynamic that has shifted between Zoe and Jackie. There is now one less person who will be as inclined to enable her moving forward. This, therefore, sets up an obstacle for Jackie and gives her more incentive to keep secrets at the hospital. And number 3, Jackie keeping the secret that she has relapsed. Surely all of these secrets are going to catch up to Jackie at some point. We have 2 seasons left, the 2 most jam-packed seasons, I will say, and already Jackie's identity, as structured with the Holy Cross, has begun to be overwhelmed by the web of lies and secrets and threats to herself, her sobriety, and her identity as a nurse. So, where do we go from here? I'll see you in season 6. So, since her season 5 finale relapse, Jackie has continued to use. She's now getting drugs from a woman who works at her local gym. Jackie goes and swims, and then when she gets a towel from the towel lady, the woman gives her pills. Jackie gives her some cash. And that's how she is sustaining a supply for herself currently. Everyone thinks Jackie's doing well, and they're like, wow, you're always a new woman when you come from the gym. That's so crazy. And Jackie's like, I know, I just love swimming. No one knows that she has relapsed. No one. Jackie and Frank are still together and going strong. Grace is continuing to use prescription drugs as well. We see her snorting, presumably Adderall, in the beginning of this episode. Eddie has seemingly moved on and is sleeping with someone else now. Jackie has continued to go to AA meetings even though she's using again. It would seem she's just trying to keep up this whole charade that she has been sober ever since her 1-year anniversary. But of course, we know that that is not the case. One of her peers collapses during an AA meeting and begins seizing. Jackie administers care to him, helps him get to a hospital, and they take him into trauma to attempt to resuscitate him. Jackie is high on medication at this moment, and when they yell clear before shocking the man, Jackie does not clear her hands away, resulting in her also getting hit with the shock from the paddles. The patient unfortunately dies, likely due to a cocaine overdose. As far as the man's wife was aware, he was still sober, so Jackie has a hard time figuring out how to break the news to the woman. In the waiting room, there is another woman from AA who has come to see how things went with the patient. Her name is Antoinette, and she soon becomes Jackie's new sponsor. She can't take any risks, so she needs to hide the drugs the very best she can. One such hiding place is behind the outlet cover in her kitchen. She has to literally unscrew it to reach in and access her drugs. Jackie is blindsided twice in pretty short succession. First, she finds out that the towel lady at the gym has been fired from the gym because she was dealing drugs. So now she has nowhere to get medication. And second, Jackie finds out that Grace is going to France for an internship this summer with a friend and their family, and everyone seems to already know about this except for Jackie. As Jackie's supply of pills begin to dwindle, she begins to look for a new source. One day at work, she overhears Dr. Roman calling in a prescription for a patient. One of the things she says over the phone is her DEA number. Jackie remembers this number, makes a call, and calls in a prescription pretending to be Dr. Carrie Roman. She then goes to the pharmacy and picks it up under a false identity, Nancy Wood. She has a fake ID and everything. There's supposed to be a 24-hour hold on the medication, but some flirting with the pharmacist gets him to release the medication to her. Soon after this, she calls her sponsor Antoinette and asks if they can meet for coffee. Antoinette asks if Jackie is using again, and Jackie is mad at her for even accusing her of doing such a thing. Jackie's downward spiral only continues from there when Frank takes her line dancing at this club, and Jackie oversees a drug deal take place between this guy named Gabe, who I have made a little blue silhouette of, and some stranger at the bar. So she walks up to Gabe and is like, I don't know the right lingo for this. And he's like, yeah, that's pretty much it. So they go into the bathroom and do some drugs, and then Jackie is like high out of her mind, and she sits on the bathroom counter, and Gabe goes down on her. And then Jackie walks out of the bathroom and rejoins Frank in line dancing. When I tell you my jaw hit the goddamn floor, I'm not exaggerating. Jackie's desperation is leading her to kind of spiral out of control. I mean, what is she fucking doing? Speaking of spiraling out of control, Grace is arrested for shoplifting, and when she's taken in, she tells everyone that her dad is a cop. Her dad is not a cop, but she's talking about Frank, and she thinks that Frank will be able to kind of get her out of some kind of trouble. This is when Grace breaks the news to Jackie that Kevin is engaged to a woman named Mia. This is enough to get Jackie to call Antoinette to vent to her a bit about the stressful day. Frank and Jackie's relationship continues to move forward, and Frank suggests that maybe he should move in with Jackie. Now that Kevin has moved on and is getting married, and it seems like he's settling down again, finding some stability, Frank and Jackie begin to wonder if that's in their future as well, and moving in together is an appropriate first step. Jackie is scheduled to have dinner with Kevin and Mia, but her first meeting with Mia does not go very well, so they postpone the dinner, and once again, Jackie turns to pills. Frank, however, sees through the kitchen window when he takes the dog out that Jackie is taking something. He confronts her the next day about it, telling her that he saw her take something. So now Jackie has been cornered and caught. At this point, I think Jackie knows there's not really any good way out of this. He saw her taking a pill, so instead of risking this charade of sobriety that she has upheld for months now, she instead breaks down crying and tells Frank that all the stress just made her slip and that was the first pill she took and she wants to stop again. She also tells him that in the past she would have lied, but now she's better, so that's why she's being honest with him about slipping this once. And Frank trusts her, but he's going to keep looking around the house for pills to make sure she really is sober and that she really only did slip that one time. Frank being on high alert means that Jackie needs to go to even further lengths to hide her pills. So instead of keeping them in the house at all, she takes them with her to the hospital. She plans to lock them in the drawer of her desk, but the drawer will not lock, so she has to hide them elsewhere. She takes them into the ladies' bathroom with her and stuffs them in the tampon machine. Dr. Roman catches her fiddling with the machine and is like, "Oh, I have a tampon." And Jackie's like, "Oh, thanks so much. This silly thing's out of order." And then the machine gets taken down and thrown into the hospital maintenance closet / recycling closet thing. We are introduced to a new character who becomes pretty important this season. Her name is Helen, and she is a former nun. She has been living on the streets for a while now. I have her pictured here for your convenience. It's Gloria who realizes the woman is a nun because of her shoes. She says that only nuns would wear those shoes, and it turns out she was right. She is at the hospital because she's going through alcohol withdrawals. Meanwhile, at home, Frank is certain that Jackie is telling him the truth and that she has maintained her sobriety, with the exception of that one slip-up. Grace, however, tells Frank that her mom is the best liar in the world and that she wouldn't be so sure. So Frank doubles down on his search for pills around the house. He ends up finding some crammed into the back of a TV remote in the battery slot. He immediately calls Jackie, tells her he found pills, and demands that she come home so the two of them can talk. Jackie tells him she's busy with a patient, and then she goes over to Gabe's and they get high and make out, presumably fuck, get even more high, and that's where she spends her afternoon. Her dinner with Kevin and Mia is going to be that night, so she borrows a jacket from Gabe's place because it's nice and she's going to wear that on the date. So that she kind of looks pulled together, you know. Frank tells Jackie he's not going to go to the dinner, but he changes his mind and shows up a few minutes in that he'll do this dinner, but the two of them need to have a serious conversation later. So with her relationship potentially on the line, the risk of her being completely found out is hanging over Jackie's head, she sits down for this dinner with Kevin and his fiancée Mia. Mia and Kevin share the news with Jackie and Frank that they are expecting a baby. On the bus ride home, Jackie tells Frank that he should move in with her. Jackie goes to pick up another prescription under the name Nancy Wood. The pharmacist tells her that the prescription is no longer valid. There is some sort of issue with the prescription and with Dr. Roman. On the same day, Gabe calls Jackie and asks if his girlfriend's credit card is in the pocket of the jacket she borrowed. She reaches in the pocket and finds the credit card and tells him, "No, there's no card here." Later on, she uses the card at a fancy boutique to buy a bridesmaid dress for Grace for Kevin and Mia's wedding. And because she is unable to get the prescription filled, Jackie is forced to go basically dumpster diving in the creepy hallway basement to locate the tampon machine and retrieve her drugs from it. It's a struggle to even get in there because she doesn't have the right access cards, but eventually she's able to do it and she's able to get her drugs back. This is when Gloria breaks the news to the ER staff that somebody stole Dr. Carrie Roman's DEA number. This means that Dr. Roman won't be able to prescribe anything for about 24 hours, leaving Roman pretty pissed, and she wants to find who stole this number. Antoinette helped Frank move into Jackie's place, so during this time, she was able to find out that Frank found Jackie's drugs. She now goes to the hospital and tells Jackie that Frank found her drugs, but he didn't do anything about it, which is a really big warning sign to her. Frank is not going to be somebody who can support her through her sobriety. He will just enable her. Antoinette thinks Frank simply has to go because nothing can be more important than Jackie's sobriety. But Jackie looks out into the waiting room of patients and says, "That person is more important than my sobriety. That person is more important than my sobriety. That person is more important than my sobriety." Antoinette will not enable this perspective Instead, she tells Jackie that when she relapses, she is putting all of those people in danger. So Jackie fires Antoinette as her sponsor. Despite all of this, Antoinette tells Jackie that when she hits rock bottom, she will still be there for her. She's literally following Jackie around the city and trying to start new conversations with her and insert herself into Jackie's life however she can because she really wants to help her. Jackie decides to ask Eddie for a prescription medication designed to help with her cravings. It's highly illegal for him just to dispense this to her, but of course he does it anyway, and it does help a little bit. That afternoon, Grace and one of her friends go to the house because they need to pick out a dress for Grace to wear for her award ceremony. And Jackie is like, what award? And her friend tells Jackie that Grace is winning an award at school for all of her volunteer work. The two girls then go upstairs and Grace's friend hides her purse under Grace's mattress. The friend insists that her parents are a lot more strict, so she can't keep her purse, which contains a baggie of drugs, I believe it's oxy, anywhere at her house. And Grace says that she really can't either, but she's kind of pressured into it because the friend is older and like a cool girl at school. So for the sake of her reputation, she has to just let her hide it there. That evening, Jackie attends Grace's awards ceremony. Jackie, of course, is just so proud of her daughter for doing whatever it is she's been doing to make a difference in people's lives and win this award. Turns out Grace is being awarded this because she started a chapter of Al-Anon Teen. Grace explains in her speech that Al-Anon Teen has really helped her accept that her parents' decisions and choices are not her own and they are not a reflection of her, and that the education and support Al-Anon Teen has given her has made sure that she can make her own good choices in her life. This scene is probably one of the most gut-wrenching in the entire series. Looking at my notes, I'm just like, I fucking love this episode. It's so damn good. When Jackie gets home from the award ceremony, she goes and takes a nap in Grace's bed, and when she lays down, she feels something under the mattress. So she takes a look and finds her friend's purse with a bunch of oxy in it. Jackie just assumes the purse belongs to Grace because it's in her room. She opens the baggie and takes a pretty solid handful of pills. When Frank gets home, Jackie wakes up and heads downstairs, and Frank is in a little bit of a better mood. He tells her that he has booked them a 3-day vacation. Jackie just tells him that she could not be more proud of her kid, and Frank is like, oh, that's so great. I'm so happy for you. And then Jackie hands him the bag of oxy that she found and says that she found it in Grace's room. He says, quote, that's a lot of pills, end quote. And she says, there were more. I took 7. Frank is about to call an ambulance, but Jackie insists that she is fine. She's a nurse. She knows how much to take and not overdose. Frank is obviously still worried, but Jackie tells him that she feels fine. In fact, she feels fantastic, and she feels no need for him to get in the way of this whatsoever. There's nothing wrong. She just took 7 oxy, and that's the way it is. In disbelief at this shattering truth from Jackie, Frank tells her that he will come by tomorrow to pick up his stuff, and that will be the end of them. And Jackie pretends she doesn't care. Frank is about halfway down the block when Jackie runs out of the house, crying and begging for him to come back to her. They meet down the block, and Jackie says that she needs help, and she asks Frank to be the one to help her. Eddie, Frank, and Antoinette are all there for Jackie while she detoxes. At one point, Jackie is in bed and she breaks down crying, and she tells Eddie that she is just so embarrassed, and Eddie says that she never has to be embarrassed about anything with him. We then launch into a dream sequence. I'll just give you the really quick rundown of the most important things we hear or see in the sequence. So first we have Frank in the sequence saying to Jackie, there's always going to be something pulling you away from me, isn't there? We have Grace in the dream saying, I'm not a little girl, and you should have fought harder. And we also have a vision of Jackie and Gloria and some other nurses all repeating the nurse's oath that Jackie took when she started her career. During all of this, there is a hurricane brewing near Florida. So since Frank had planned this vacation for Jackie, he just kind of wanted to whisk her away for those 3 days. They didn't go because she was detoxing, but she tells everyone else that they are in Florida. Grace has a really bad day at school. She hugs Jackie and says that she just had a really bad day and she needs Jackie's support, so Jackie starts making her pancakes. Frank tells Jackie that he doesn't think Grace should be there because it's just going to add stress to Jackie's life when Jackie is in a very vulnerable position. But Jackie insists that Grace needs her. Frank tells her he cannot help her through withdrawals again because the whole detox process was really draining on him. And Jackie tells him that she can't promise she will not relapse. She is an addict. Frank goes on a walk, a little upset about all this, and Jackie snorts the contents of a pill. When Jackie returns to the hospital, the nun, Helen, is back again as a patient. She has lice this time, and Jackie takes her into the baths to help her clean up. While bathing Helen, she notices a bone protruding on her back, which suggests a broken rib that hasn't been healing properly. So she asks Helen how she got the injury, and Helen explains she jumped in front of a cab the week before. When Helen is all cleaned up, Zoe tells her how beautiful she looks. They don't have a mirror, so she takes a picture on her phone and shows it to Helen. Then Frank, thanks to his connections via law enforcement, has an in with the DEA, and he learns that they are beginning to investigate Carrie Roman's number being stolen. They will be at the hospital today, and they're going to start screening everyone in the ER. This means Jackie is going to have to do another urine test, which means she is going to fail, and that means she needs to find a way out of this as soon as possible. So she comes up with a master plan. She's outside helping Acolytus parallel park her car, and then she puts her foot under the wheel so that Gloria will run over her foot. Jackie is in a lot of pain, but all day, as she limps around on that foot, she insists to Gloria that she is just fine. So all day, Jackie is limping around. Gloria is offering to have her talk to Dr. Coop so she can take something for it, but Jackie doesn't want to mess around with any pills because she's sober. But eventually she goes to Gloria and asks her if she would be supportive of her going through a, quote, AA approved plan where the medication would be prescribed to Jackie, but Gloria would hold on to the bottle and just dispense the medication when needed so that Jackie never has access to the pills unless someone is giving her one. Gloria tells her she will think about it. Later on, Gloria presents Jackie with a bottle of pills, and she says she told Coop that her arthritis was flaring up again, so she got Coop to write a prescription under her name. Now, I want to point out, Jackie never asked Gloria to lie, and I don't think she ever expected her to lie or needed her to lie. Anyways, that is how Jackie gets the medication. Gloria tells Jackie that they can postpone her test until her foot is healed. Back to Jackie's love life, Frank comes over with his two sons, who he has reconnected with. They had not spoken in over a year, and one of Jackie's reasons she was upset with Frank was because he never bothered to reconnect with his kids or try and make things up to them. So anyway, Frank brings them over to Jackie's house, and he tells her that he misses her and that he thinks things could still be good between them. That same week, the older son and Grace seem to be getting kind of weird and flirty, and then all of a sudden Grace is asking Zoe to help her get birth control. Jackie is kind of freaking out about that. Meanwhile, Antoinette and Eddie go out on a date. In conversation with Eddie, Antoinette is going on and on about how Jackie is pushing her away because she is probably using again. Antoinette then calls Frank to warn him about this, and then she calls Acolytus, saying that she needs to speak with her and talk about Jackie. Once Jackie hears about this phone call and requests for a meeting, she calls Antoinette and yells at her, tells her to never bother Gloria again, and then Antoinette tells her that she really needs a drink. So this turns into a phone call where Jackie has to help her navigate this as an AA peer rather than someone who is really fucking pissed at her. She's really struggling today because of Eddie, who said that the two of them can't hook up because of Eddie and Jackie's relationship. So Antoinette's upset about that, and she feels the urge to drink. Jackie tells her she'll take her to dinner tonight and they can discuss this then. When Jackie finally goes to talk to Frank about the behavior of his son and how she's worried about his son and Grace, she tells him that Grace asked for birth control because obviously Frank's son is going to try and sleep with her. And then Frank says maybe Grace needs it because she's sleeping with some other guy, implying that Grace is sleeping around or that she is the bad influence here. But Grace is 15, and so Jackie dumps Frank, and Frank tells Jackie that Antoinette warned him this would happen. She would try and push him away because she wanted to start using and not have him to worry about. But Jackie insists she's just trying to help Grace. Antoinette shows up and apologizes to Jackie in person for meddling too much, and Jackie tells her it's okay, let's just go have dinner tonight. We'll work things out then. Now is just not the time to sort out this whole thing because Jackie is about to go into her DEA interview. She just needs to get Antoinette to leave. She's like, I will see you later. Get the fuck out. And then Jackie goes into her DEA interview. Right off the bat, she tells the investigator that she is an addict in recovery and that she has been sober for however long. She explains she understands why attention may be drawn to her given that circumstance, but she is there to fully cooperate with the investigation. Investigating officer tells her that he is also an addict and that made his job really hard for a long time. So he simply asks Jackie, did you steal the DEA number of Dr. Carrie Roman? And Jackie says, no, I did not. And he says, okay, thank you, you're free to go. When Jackie steps outside of the room, Acolytus asks her how things went, and Jackie says, good, I just told the truth. Now, during Acolytus's interview, she is asked about the Vicodin she was prescribed, and she explains that Dr. Cooper prescribed it for her because her arthritis was flaring up. So the DEA guy asks, why then is her urine sample clean? Getting the prescription for herself was, in my opinion, not something Jackie had any influence over, just something that Gloria did. This is a serious conflict for Gloria now, and in working this out, it could pose a threat to Jackie as well. We're going to keep our eye on this DEA thing. Let's just keep going. Okay, so I'm going to set the scene for you. Jackie and Antoinette are at dinner. They are talking about their cravings. This is a conversation that Jackie thought might be good for them since Antoinette, of course, had called her that day and said she really wanted to drink. Jackie suggests that maybe they should go to rehab together, and they could just kind of like Thelma and Louise it. After chatting for a while at dinner, Jackie takes out a pill and swallows it right in front of Antoinette. She says if she's going to rehab, she's going to go high. Something crucial to the dynamic of the scene is the fact that this is not Jackie's first time using. Jackie has been using ever since that day Grace came over, but Antoinette does not know this. She just thinks Jackie is thinking about using or at risk of using because she is pushing everyone away. But seeing her friend use, presumably for the first time since the week she detoxed, Antoinette orders a sidecar, and then another for the first time in years. As the sun comes up, they head together to the rehab center, drunk/high. Jackie goes up to the desk and says that she called about a bed for Antoinette, and she starts writing Antoinette's name on the sign-in, and this is when it hits Antoinette. She says, "You're not going with me." Jackie is as nonchalant as can be as she signs Antoinette into the rehab center. Antoinette tells her that she has seen addicts pull a lot of crazy shit, but this is fucked. She says that she feels sorry for anyone who has anything to do with Jackie and that she never wants to see her again as she is led into the rehab center. With Antoinette off her back, Jackie walks into daylight and strolls down the street with a smirk on her face. Thinking about how evil this is just like makes my tummy hurt, first of all. You know, for Antoinette to say she has seen a lot of fucked up shit, but this like tops it all. Like, holy fuck, dude. This is Jackie manipulating someone into throwing out their own sobriety for the sake of self-preservation. And it is one of the most fucked up things she does in the entire series. How can we, after seeing how much she and Charlie have struggled with addiction, we saw a fellow member of AA die, Jackie has just let someone else off the ledge. How do we forgive Jackie? How do we stay invested in her as we move into season 7, the final season of the show? Because Jackie is our protagonist, and at this moment we feel two things. 1, Jackie has won, and 2, Jackie has fallen as far as she ever will. Starting out with the first point, when I say Jackie has won, I mean that the season so successfully set up so many conflicts and threats to Jackie. By the time Antoinette becomes the only person standing in her way of this freedom that Jackie wants. Jackie is already mad at Antoinette for messing with her family and her relationship with Frank, but it becomes a whole different ballgame when she calls Gloria, because now Jackie's career is on the line. And Jackie's career is never going to be less important than her sobriety to her. So when this woman, Antoinette, is calling out things that are enabling Jackie's relapse, she has to use addiction against Antoinette in order to gain her own freedom. I can't help but be reminded of Jackie visiting Mother Mary in the chapel in the season before. How far away from accepting a higher power is Jackie at this point? What she did to Antoinette could be seen as a complete violation of the oath that we see her retake in the dream sequence, an episode in which Antoinette has a particularly strong presence, as does Eddie, who is a longtime enabler of Jackie. The fact that Antoinette's first cravings come when Eddie turns her down because of his relationship with Jackie is just another way Eddie is enabling Jackie's addiction without even realizing it. The relationship between Jackie and Eddie is perhaps the most central relationship in season 7, so I'm looking forward to bringing down more of that as we go. Things kind of carry on normally for Jackie after she gets Antoinette sent to rehab. Desperate to find a new source of medication, she decides to get a consultation for an eye lift. She fills the prescription that the doctor sent in for her to have after the surgery, and then once she picks it up, she calls and cancels the surgery. Tonight is Kevin's wedding, and Jackie is planning on going, even though it's a little weird because the girls want her to be there. Before we get into that, one last thing at the hospital is that Zoe is considering going to grad school, so she asked Jackie to write a letter of recommendation for her. Jackie hands over the letter she wrote, and Zoe goes into a private room to read it and starts to cry, and she says she doesn't even want to send it in because she just wants to keep it forever. Jackie tells her she just wrote the truth, mirroring her earlier comment to Gloria that she just told the truth with the DEA agent. In one of these cases, she did tell the truth, but only one of them. Gloria is upset with Jackie over the DEA and suspicions about the real prescription. The DEA agent is on Gloria's ass. Because Gloria is kind of pressing her about this DEA thing, Jackie asks how much of an asshole Gloria thinks she is, and Gloria tells her she'll let her know when they find Nancy Wood. The nun Helen is back in the hospital yet again after another suicide attempt. Helen sees that Jackie is down and kind of stressed about something. She asks if there's anything she can do to help because she really wants to repay Jackie after everything she's done to help her. Jackie tells Zoe that she's really not looking quite as well as she looked last time she was in. She says to Zoe, "Remember that picture you took?" And Zoe pulls it up on her phone and it's like, "Yeah, here it is." And Jackie's like, "Oh wow, she looks so good there. Hey, will you send me that picture?" And Zoe's like, "Oh yeah, of course, Jackie, no worries." Eddie and Jackie have a chat, and Eddie tells her that she's done a lot of good lately. Jackie suggests he should tell Gloria that, since Gloria seems to think that she has something to do with Dr. Roman's DEA number. So Helen is dying. She tells Gloria and Jackie and Dr. Roman that Helen is her religious name, so they should call her by her real name, which is Nancy Wood. It now seems to Gloria and Dr. Roman that it was Helen, aka Nancy Wood, but not really, was the one who stole Dr. Roman's DEA number. With the mystery solved, Gloria apologizes to Jackie for blaming her. Jackie goes into the bathroom, snorts some pills, and sits there with the big gold grin on her face because she just keeps getting away with this shit. When she leaves the bathroom, she goes and helps a patient who needs some insulin. Upon leaving the bathroom, she goes to tend to a patient who needs insulin, and she gives the patient 800 milligrams. She gives the patient 800 units of insulin when Dr. Roman only prescribed 80. So the patient almost dies, but Zoe very calmly saves the patient's life. Jackie tries to brush the whole thing off as, just a little mistake that happens, but Zoe thinks that something else is wrong here. She asks Jackie if she needs to go to a meeting, and Jackie says no, she's just a little stressed because Kevin's wedding is tonight, so that's probably putting a lot on her mind. Okay, so Jackie goes to Kevin's wedding, and she brings Gabe, her drug dealer, as a date to the wedding. Grace recognizes Gabe and tells her own date that she knows that guy because he sold her friends drugs at a party. This is how Grace puts together that her mom is using again. So she calls Zoe, basically in tears, because Zoe has become someone she can really rely on. At the hospital, Helen has just passed away, and Carrie and Zoe look through her thing. She doesn't have much on her, but she does have an ID with the name Nancy Wood. Zoe picks up the driver's license and takes a good look at it, and the photo on the ID is the photo that she had just sent Jackie. The picture that she took herself on her phone in the hospital a few months earlier when Helen was a patient. So between Grace being upset and Zoe being confronted with this evidence, Zoe puts together that Jackie has been lying to her and that she is using again. Zoe puts the license back into its bag and starts to cry. At the wedding, Grace confronts Gabe about selling drugs to kids, and this is the first Jackie hears of this. She had no idea he was selling drugs to teenagers, so she starts freaking out at him for this. Something I found interesting was that this also happens on Weeds, which is another Showtime program. And Nancy Botwin, who sells weed, finds out that another weed dealer is selling weed to kids and freaks out at him. She also accidentally dates a DEA agent on that show, which I think parallels Jackie dating a cop really nicely. And like, honestly, the two of them, their joint girl boss slay would be so crazy. Like the shit they both get into. Anyways, long story short, Jackie gets kicked out of the wedding and she's kind of blamed for ruining the whole wedding. With the new information about Jackie in mind, Zoe goes to Gloria and asks if, hypothetically, Jackie was using again, what should she hypothetically do? Gloria asks why she might think, hypothetically, Jackie is using again, and Zoe tells her that she almost killed a patient with the insulin. She does have the picture of Helen and the ID, so she could hand this over to Gloria now, but she decides not to because she doesn't think digging into the DEA situation again is actually going to help Jackie. Helen is gone now. I don't think she's worried as much about the DEA case as she is about Jackie and making sure that she's getting the help she needs. When Jackie gets kicked out of the wedding, she goes over to Eddie's to hang out with him. The next time Jackie's at the hospital, Gloria talks to her about the insulin mistake where she almost killed a patient. Jackie blames Dr. Roman for writing the prescription incorrectly, but Gloria is very insistent and she can't just blame Dr. Roman for everything all the time. Gloria needs Jackie to tell her right now if she relapsed. If Jackie is upfront about relapsing, that means Gloria can put her into a diversion program. This would mean mandatory rehab, a probation period, and a huge pay cut when she returns. Or she can claim she's innocent and Gloria will give her a drug test, and if it's positive, she will lose her nursing license and her job. Following this, Jackie goes to Coop and tells him about the incident because he is now the head doctor of the ER. She tells him it was Carrie's fault, and because Coop and Carrie are romantically entwined, Jackie could kind of use that as leverage and say like, hey, just because you're sleeping with her doesn't mean you can push blame off of her whenever it's convenient. I'll note, though, that in the long run, Dr. Roman does not take the blame for this. Zoe thanks Gloria for trying to get Jackie into the diversion program and help her, and then she goes to Frank, and she is completely unaware that Frank and Jackie broke up. So she goes to him seeking advice, and this is when Frank tells her that the two of them broke up and that he hasn't talked to Jackie since. He just isn't interested in helping her anymore. While she is weighing her options to Eddie, Jackie says that if she's not a nurse, then she's no one, and she tries to get some help to get her out of this situation. Zoe tells Jackie that she knows about the fake ID and that that's what this is about, not just the insulin thing. And now Jackie's really struggling to say anything to make Zoe believe her. Practically on the verge of tears again, Zoe tells Jackie that she always believed her, but this time it's just gone too far, and there is irrefutable proof that Jackie is lying and covering things up. Zoe is realizing how far deep this whole thing goes, and she tells Jackie that she needs to either go to rehab or she will turn in the picture. Jackie simply puts on her coat and walks out of the hospital, gets a cab, and goes to see Grace. She wants to get the kids out of the city for the day, but Grace has no interest, and Fiona doesn't even want to talk to her. Mia comes downstairs to talk to Jackie. Once again, Mia is Kevin's new wife, and she tells her that Fiona has been really upset ever since Jackie kind of ruined their wedding reception. And apparently the money bag that was being passed around at Mia and Kevin's wedding went missing, so Jackie's taking the blame for that. Maybe it was Gabe, we're not really completely sure. Because of all this turmoil, Mia informs Jackie that they will only be speaking via lawyers from now on. So leaving there, Jackie goes back to Eddie, and the plan is she's gonna run away. He says, do me a favor, don't die. And they pack up a suitcase with a bunch of meds. Eddie books a flight for her, and she is going to run away to Florida. It's been mentioned several episodes this season, but there is that big hurricane in Florida that just hit. So this means Jackie kind of has an excuse to go there as a nurse, and she can say she's doing rescue operations or whatever. But I think she's just planning on buying herself some time and getting out of town so that she doesn't have to take the urine test. To wrap things up for Zoe for this season, she realizes that Jackie's career is on the line now. If she sends in the recommendation letter from Jackie and then Jackie gets her license revoked, she's going to be totally screwed. So she has to go to Gloria and ask Gloria for a recommendation letter instead. It's so fucking heartbreaking because Zoe has just lost one of the few people who she's ever felt has always believed in her and always supported her. Now she has to go to someone else. Oh, God. Anyway, I feel like I just did a lot of analysis, so let's jump into the final 2 episodes of season 6 now. So Jackie is driving to the airport and she is caught in a traffic jam. She doesn't have that long until her plane departs, so she decides to drive up the shoulder to try and get to the exit sooner. I don't know if you've ever been to LaGuardia, but that shit kind of sucks. At the front of the big line, the cause of all this traffic is a car accident, and a man is screaming for help for his wife. Jackie almost keeps on driving, but she simply can't help herself. So she stops her car, pulls over, and runs to attend to the woman. She does what she can for the woman. She makes sure that she is warm, which will allow her blood to clot so she doesn't bleed out. This is the trauma triangle of death. I read a book called Trauma, 9th edition. It's this med school textbook because I was writing Scream fan fiction, and I needed to know certain things anyway. Jackie does what she can to keep the woman stable, and they'll just have to wait for the paramedics. So Jackie goes back to the car. She takes off her bloody shirt, tucks it in her suitcase, and then she gets ready to drive again. She's still got enough time if she hurries. So she slams down on the pedal and starts driving ahead and collides with the ambulance in front of her. When Jackie opens her eyes, her head is on the steering wheel, and there are cops looking into her car, into the back seat where pills are now everywhere, having spilled out of her suitcase, which she left unzipped. And Jackie is arrested. And that is the conclusion of the season. Just when you thought that there were enough problems, we're going to add the legal system into it. Okay, so back on the note of how Nurse Jackie is My Sopranos, you know how the final season of The Sopranos is just oh, this is really fucking depressing. Every single episode just hit after hit, especially the last 8 or whatever. Yeah, that's pretty much going to be the rest of Nurse Jackie. So I hope we had our giggles while we did. I guess we may still have giggles because I giggle when I'm shocked, right? So I'm always giggling at what Jackie does just because I'm stunned. But there's not really many more laughs from here on out. So I'll see you in season 7. I've done so much yapping. Let's just jump into the season. Eddie gets a call from Jackie in jail. She alerts him that their plan has gone wrong and that she has been arrested for drug trafficking. She tells him not to come, just leave her where she is while she sorts it out because she doesn't want him to end up in any trouble. The second he gets involved with all the legal issues, it's just going to make a big mess for both of them. In jail, Jackie is going through withdrawals, and she tells the guard what's happening and that she needs some medical attention. And he gives her this little kit that's supposed to help her, but Jackie sees the contents and know it's pretty much fucking useless. So in jail, she ends up collapsing. She wakes up in Bellevue Hospital, where she has undergone a sedated detox over the last 2 days, and a public defender is there ready to talk to her. He tells her her charges, drug trafficking, and she explains that she is a nurse. She was on her way to Miami with drugs to help with the hurricane efforts. Once she is released from custody, Jackie goes back to the hospital and chats with Zoe. She thanks her for holding her accountable and tells her that she went to detox and it's all thanks to her. Zoe really does not want to talk to Jackie right now. She does not trust her. Jackie's pretty persistent. Zoe ends up asking where she detoxed, and Jackie, thinking ahead, calls this center in Queens and makes an appointment so that when Zoe calls the center, pretending to be Jackie, to see if an appointment has been made, they are able to confirm it, thus making Zoe believe Jackie is clean by her own accord. Relieved that Jackie is seemingly telling the truth, Zoe decides to delete the photo of Helen on her phone, which she has been holding on to. For Zoe, all she cares about is Jackie getting clean. She doesn't really necessarily care about the photo or getting Jackie in trouble or any of that. She just wants her to be clean. Things aren't going too well in Jackie's home life. She goes and sees Kevin and asks to talk to the girls, but he was notified of the car accident and he doesn't want her to see the girls because he thinks that she's dangerous. Jackie then talks to a lawyer. I have all of her legal troubles this season represented up here. He refuses to take her case, saying that he doesn't think it's very likely she will get her license back. Defeated, Jackie goes home, and waiting there for her is Eddie, and they kiss. Grace stops by the hospital and asks Zoe if she can stay with her for a few days because things are getting bad at home. Zoe tells her that things are going to get better now because Jackie just got out of rehab and detoxing again, but Grace is like, no, she didn't. She just got out of jail. And this is how Zoe finds out that Jackie was actually lying to her yet again. Meanwhile, at home, the threat of the legal system and potential permanent loss of her license is kicking her ass, and so she tells Eddie they need to sweep the entire house and get rid of any and all drugs present because, quote, I can't not be a nurse. Jackie shows up at work, and Gloria tells her she is not welcome there. Gloria fires her on the spot in front of everyone and tells her she's dangerous, a junkie, and probably high right now. And with that, Jackie goes back to her lawyer, hoping to sue, and he takes the case. But now the trouble comes because Jackie can't afford this expensive lawyer, so she starts pawning things off from around the house that she doesn't need anymore. At one point, she pawns off her wedding ring, which is worth $900, just to put it towards her legal fees. She also becomes a home care nurse for an elderly woman, and the woman is prescribed so many medications that she's just sedated and lays in bed all day. So Jackie consults Eddie about this, and they adjust the woman's medication. In a pretty short period of time, the woman ends up being able to walk again and going out to church and having her life back. Jackie takes her extra pills and sells them for money. She then goes to the bank to see about taking out a second mortgage on the home, and it turns out Kevin already took one out and forged her signature. So she confronts him about it. She takes his fancy, expensive watch so she can sell it for lawyer money, and she demands to get to see the girls fairly and regularly. She also sells her Jeep for cash. The pills from that elderly woman are sold to Gabe, Jackie's old dealer, and finally she's able to pay her lawyer, so she goes for another meeting with him. She and her lawyer go in to discuss things with HR, specifically the wrongful dismissal. Jackie still has a suspended license. She can't touch patients. She cannot administer any medication, including aspirin. She has to wear different scrubs from all the nurses. She has to do a urine test daily, and she has to be monitored pretty closely. It's humiliating and awful, and Gloria tells Zoe that she doesn't think she'll last the week with this. Gloria assigns Zoe to be the one to monitor Jackie and get her each day for her urine test. Zoe has just found out that she got into grad school. She doesn't even know if she wants to go anymore because work has become such a miserable place for her since she has been assigned this role in relation to Jackie. Because Zoe is so stressed out, Eddie gives her a Xanax one day, and Gloria uses that as an excuse to fire him on the spot. Jackie's pretty pissed about this, but then this custodian, who Jackie has kind of come to know because of the new tasks that she does as a non-nurse in the hospital, he tells Jackie that maybe it's an okay thing that Eddie got out now because the hospital has just been sold to a Norwegian development company and is going to be shut down. On one hand, I'm like, didn't we already kind of go through this in season 4 with like the Mike Cruz thing? But this time it's different. It's not just like corporate influence at the hospital. Like the whole hospital is just gonna close. Jackie and Eddie make out at the hospital, and Gloria's like, oh, they're together. Jackie's criminal case ends up being dropped, but she is still in the diversion program, and Gloria wants to keep her in that program until the hearing for her nursing license. Gloria is truly mad at Jackie in a way that she never has been before. She makes a comment about spending a lifetime trying to fix someone and you just can't fix them. At one point, Dr. Cooper asks Jackie why she puts up with all of this terrible treatment from Gloria and why she's willing to come in every day to this really shitty job. Jackie tells him she comes in because it keeps her clean. She also reminds him of the very first episode, an event that occurred where Cooper didn't put the patient through a CT scan and he died, but then there's a similar case on this day and he insists on the CT scan, so he saves the patient. And she says, "You got better." She comes every day because she wants to get better. Dr. Carrie Roman puts in good word for Coop at Massachusetts General Hospital and gets him a job there, which means the two of them have to break up, but it's for the best for Cooper to pursue something that means a lot to him. It's probably one of the most selfless things that we see Carrie Roman do in the series. So Dr. Cooper gives his 2 weeks notice, and Gloria asks Jackie if she told Coop about the Norwegian company. She tells Gloria no, she did not. The patient who Jackie was caring for in her home has moved into a nursing home, and Jackie goes every week to see her and also consult all of these elderly people about their medications. She takes what she can and sells it so she can continue to pay her legal fees. Eddie gets a job representing a pharmaceutical company, and he comes home with this like big suitcase full of pills, and Jackie says, "Remind me to go to a meeting in the morning," and he says, "Sure, right after we call your drug dealer." So they're about to sell Gabe a bunch of these pills when he makes a remark that is kind of flirty, kind of hints at something they had in the past, and Eddie freaks out and punches him, and so unfortunately they lose that contact and can no longer sell pills to someone familiar. Back at the hospital, Jackie is organizing to save the hospital from the evil Norwegians. She hosts a big meeting in the basement where she spills all the facts that she has picked up on to alert the nursing staff and try and do something to save the place. When the head of this Norwegian project hears what Jackie's doing, he approaches her, introduces himself, and says that he will expedite the return of her nursing license because he's a very powerful man and has the right connections if she stops trying to keep the hospital from closing. So now Jackie has a choice to make. Does she continue to support the hospital? Or does she focus on saving her nursing license, even if that means going against something she believes in? An important element of this conflict is the fact that if the hospital closes, she's not going to find a job. Nobody is going to hire a nurse who is in the diversion program. She needs her nursing license back as soon as possible so she can continue to be a nurse. If the hospital closes before she gets it back, her career is kind of toast. So, at the next meeting, Jackie tells everyone there's nothing that they can do and the place is going to close down. But then, that week, while she is on her cleaning duties, she steals a USB drive from a board meeting of the Norwegians, and she mails it to the New York Times, who then report on the hospital's closing, and it begins community uproar. So Jackie is technically not responsible for this anymore. She can still tell Mr. Norwegian man that she is keeping her side of the promise, but she can still do what she feels is right. A new doctor comes in to head the ICU. His name is Bernie Prince. So he is replacing Dr. Cooper. So when a trauma comes in and there are no other hands available, Dr. Prince calls Jackie into the room and has her assist with the patient, which makes Jackie feel so fucking alive, and it's exactly what she needed. Gloria, of course, is not at all pleased about this, but Dr. Prince tells her that if Jackie hadn't helped, the patient would have died. Zoe and Thor lead the other nurses on strike. Thor is their union rep, and he gets word from the union that they will have their support. So with all the nurses having walked out and Jackie being the only one there who can assist with anything, she's still not like touching a ton of patients. It's really just traumas, but she can gather supplies and she can help triage patients, things like that. She gets stuck at the hospital all night, and so she has to call Grace and cancel their plans. Grace doesn't hang up the phone, so Jackie ends up hearing Grace telling Fiona that She knows mom is unreliable, but that's just part of her sickness. And this, of course, breaks Jackie's fucking heart. So a while later, she calls Grace and she tells her how scary she imagined it must be, and that she loves her and that she's trying to make things right. This leads Grace to start trusting Jackie a little bit more. Jackie didn't go with Grace on all of her college trips. Kevin just went ahead and took Grace. But Grace does tell her dad that Jackie's doing well. This change from Grace in their relationship brings Jackie to a decision. She tells Eddie that after this last deal they have planned, she wants to stop selling and focus on her family and getting her license back. She just cannot risk throwing everything away when things have started to get good. Before we talk about that deal, I want to say one more thing about the nurses' strike. This is such a delightful scene. The police come by and tell everyone to be quiet. Zoe ends up climbing on top of a cop car, and the cop tells her to get down. He says, I can't get down because I'm here to rise up. And I don't know, I love this little Pookie Bear. I love Zoe so much. While discussing Jackie, Gloria opens up to Bernice and shares that her son is an addict. She's angry at herself for buying into the same pattern of lost causes for so many years with Jackie, but Bernice says he doesn't believe there's any such thing as a lost cause. Of everyone at the hospital at this point, it's really Bernice who is on Jackie's side, who believes in her, who thinks she can recover from this, who believes in her abilities as a nurse, and wants to get her nursing license back for selfless reasons. Of course, Mr. Norwayman is also wanting to get her license back, allegedly, but fuck that guy, right? So for their final sale, Jackie and Eddie go to this sketchy urgent care facility. Eddie heard that that's the place to go to sell drugs. Jackie goes with him and wears this baseball cap, and while she's sitting in the waiting room, she almost blows their whole deal because she realizes one of the patients who's waiting has overdosed and needs care immediately. She goes and tells the person at the front desk, but they don't really care. Luckily for them though, Kevin is able to seal the deal and they make a whopping $22,000. Outside in the glow of this deal and deciding to focus on her family from now on, leaving that life behind, Jackie asks Eddie to marry her, and he agrees. As we move into the final few episodes of the show, I want to bring something to the forefront. The hospital will be closing down over a 90-day period. The emergency room will be the last thing to close, but over the course of the next 90 days, the hospital will slowly shut down. With that being said, when Gloria finds out that Eddie is now selling pain meds for his career, she calls Zoe and tells her they need to test Jackie ASAP. Where is Jackie at the moment? She's hanging out with her friend Bernie Prince. He shows her a brain scan, and it is a brain with a giant tumor. She sees the name on the scan, and it belongs to Bernard. Bernard is dying. At one point, there's a celebration at the hospital, and Gloria and Bernard dance together, and Jackie says to Eddie, as they look at this older couple dance, that's going to be us one day. On to our final Grace plot of the series. Grace calls Zoe from a Pennsylvania service station and says she needs help because she's lost. Bernard loans Jackie and Zoe her car so that they can go and pick Grace up. Both Jackie and Zoe are freaking out that Grace is just on her own in Pennsylvania, stranded. And when they get there, they're going around yelling for her, and she's just standing there eating an ice cream cone. Zoe in particular is upset because she feels like she's responsible for Grace. Grace has been going to her for support in all kinds of ways and for all kinds of things recently. So Zoe really feels like a mom. She's the mom who stepped up. We learned that Grace was just on her way to visit UPenn and she got off with her bus when it stopped, and then they left without her. She's a little reluctant, but Jackie decides to drive Grace there because she wants her to get to see this college. On the way home, Zoe and Jackie are alone in the car together. Zoe admits that she's not doing very well in grad school. She tells Jackie, quote, "You were my idol, and now you're the reason I hate it." Zoe has reached a point in her grief and heartbreak and disappointment in Jackie and the way things have played out that she's not even sure if she wants to be a nurse anymore. Things do become a little more lighthearted, though, when Jackie drops Zoe off at the front doors of the hospital, and they wave goodbye, and they both dance, and it's kind of a callback to the pancakes dancing scene, and a very sweet moment between the two ladies. Meanwhile, Eddie is getting into all kinds of trouble. So first, the Norwegian guy starts fighting with Gloria and Eddie punches him. The man tells Eddie that his deal with Jackie is off. And of course, Eddie's like, what fucking deal? What fucking deal? Okay. Then at home, it's Eddie's apartment, but Jackie's there with him all the time. They pretty much live together now because they're engaged. Kevin's employer stops by to ask him about discrepancies in the numbers of his samples. When he gives out samples of this medication to doctors, it all has to be carefully kept track of, and he's just kind of neglected that. So they are suspicious, and they've come to the apartment with a drug-sniffing dog. While the dog sniffs around, Jackie notices a loose pill on the floor. They are potentially about to get busted for everything. I just want to highlight this pill is not Jackie's. Jackie is still sober. Since she went through that detox at the beginning of the season, she has maintained her sobriety. But she sees this loose pill on the floor, and at first she hides it in her sleeve. But the dog is coming her way and sniffing her, and it's drawing attention to her. So while Eddie has these investigators distracted, Jackie puts the pill in her mouth. She doesn't swallow it, she just puts it in her mouth to hide it. Once the investigators leave, she spits it out and rinses her mouth, but she knows that there's probably already a little bit in her system. This is going to be disastrous for her daily urine test, but she's gotten her way out of sticky situations before. She's just gonna have to figure it out. When she gets to the hospital, her lawyer informs her that her hearing to get her nursing license back will be today. Of all days, it's going to be today. She tries to avoid the urine test for as long as possible, but she needs to have that one last test at Gloria's insistence before her hearing. She's really giving Zoe a hard time about it though, and Zoe says, like, this is the last one and then we're done. Jackie, even though she may be annoyed and frustrated, she's always complied and gone through with what she needs to do, but now she can't because she put that pill in her mouth to protect Eddie. So when Zoe ushers her into the bathroom at one point, Jackie decides she has to tell Zoe the truth. Zoe admits she's not sure if she can believe Jackie because she's a really good liar, and Jackie tells her she never would have used because she needs to be a nurse. She wouldn't do anything at this point to put her license at stake. She tells Zoe if she isn't out of diversion before the hospital closes, she will never be a nurse again. Zoe says she doesn't understand how Jackie keeps getting into these situations, to which Jackie replies that she is an addict and it's ruined her life. Zoe decides to believe this one story from Jackie. She takes the cup from her and takes the urine test for her. The hearing is a little bit rocky. Gloria does not want Jackie to be a nurse again. Jackie and her lawyer have to dig up Gloria's personal stuff and bring to light that it seems like Gloria is punishing her because of her relationship with her son, rather than being objective about Jackie's trustworthiness as a nurse. At one point during the hearing, when they are on a little break, the Norwegian guy tells Jackie that he was the one who sent that dog after Eddie. When all is said and done, the board decides to reinstate Jackie's nursing license. So, Nurse Jackie, we are so back. Mom Jackie, we are so back. Sober Jackie, we are still back. Jackie victoriously puts on her nursing scrubs. She reattaches her name badge, which I have recreated here. She pulls her hair back into a ponytail and makes her way down the hall. She is a nurse again. And then she takes a pill. Jackie is asked at one point, how does it feel to be back? And she says, good, better than I remember. I know this is kind of a surface level analysis, but we can't be sure what Jackie's referring to here. Is she referring to being a nurse again, or is she referring to being high again? Following the hearing, Gloria decides to reconnect with her son, so that's a happy, lovely, wonderful thing. And as the days go by, Bernie shows more and more signs. He's forgetting things. He is losing awareness of where he is. Jackie informs Gloria of what's going on in hopes of getting Bernard removed from the floor. Meanwhile, Kevin, who is still dealing with the paperwork of his job, tries to get Bernard to sign for a bunch of Illyria. Jackie has a fight with Kevin because of this, because she just doesn't feel like that is the right thing to do. I think Jackie, having gone through so much in the last year and almost losing her career as a nurse, knows how painful it is to have to take this away from Bernard. She doesn't want to put anything else on him. We're on the finale, and I had to have a little walk around first. I'm not going to spoil anything yet, but remember how I said at the start of this video that Nurse Jackie is my Sopranos? Finale episode opens with Jackie once again in the chapel of the hospital. We get a repetition of the voiceover from the pilot episode, that quote, "Make me good, God, but not yet." And then she swallows a pill. It's Jackie's last day at the hospital, but she has a job lined up at Bellevue, which is fantastic. And Eleanor O'Hara comes and visits Jackie with her son. She's back for one last episode. Everyone say hi, O'Hara. Zoe fills O'Hara in on all of the shit that she has missed with Jackie. I don't think O'Hara has really kept in the loop all that much since she has been in England. She then approaches Jackie and tells her she's high. Jackie's a little bit freaked by this statement from O'Hara. She tells her she's fine. She's just, in a good mood because she's moving on with her life. She's got a new job at Bellevue. So even though this hospital's closing, she's doing fine. And O'Hara responds with, "That's not moving on. That's moving in a fucking circle." She tells her that she is her friend, but she's making it so fucking difficult. Kind of want to keep a tally of things. So this makes one person who Jackie has failed in some way. I wouldn't say O'Hara ends the friendship here. Jackie is a liability, for lack of better words. There's a reason that song by Lorde is on my Jackie Payton playlist. Over the last 2 seasons, Jackie has become used to some degree of coldness from the people in her life. Zoe has pushed back, Gloria has pushed back, Kevin has pushed back, but now for it to be coming from O'Hara, who in season 5 was, according to Jackie, kind of the only thing keeping her sober, that's a really big blow. Another element of this, I think, is that Jackie now knows that her secrets can't last forever. She can't always exist in a bubble. I think it's kind of like, if O'Hara can find out this truth about Jackie, who else will? And who else will be on to her? Jackie may think that at Bellevue she has a brand new start and no one will know her secrets, but that's not really the case. So there's just a lot coming down on Jackie. Eddie is in trouble once again at work because they have batch numbers from the urgent care pill mill. If Eddie has to go and tell his lawyers everything he knows to try and lessen his sentence, then Jackie is going to be implicated in that legally as well. They have footage of him at the pill mill. He sees in that footage Jackie in the waiting room wearing her cap, and Jackie just protected him the other day by putting that pill in her mouth, and now he's going to do the same for her. So Eddie tells Jackie that he confessed in order to protect her and he will spend a year in prison, and he's okay with that because Jackie is his everything. An angry patient with a gun comes into the ER looking for another patient. Jackie's pretty sure she knows who this guy's after. It's a patient who is hiding in the bathroom right now, and they are a drug user. They have a bunch of drugs on them. But anyway, this angry patient comes in. He's pointing the gun at Jackie. Jackie is staring death in the face. Bernard is able to convince the man to point the gun at him instead. Bernard knows he is already facing certain death at the hands of his tumor. I think he might be a little less afraid to look death in the face. He scares the guy with the gun off. No one is harmed. Jackie helps the patient, who is an addict, get cleaned up with his drugs tucked away. He tells her that he feels naked now, and she says that maybe that's a good thing. Abby from editing here. I forgot to talk about this part of the scene. She tells the patient she is an addict, and he doesn't believe her because she seems more like a saint. And he asks if that's why she's helping him, and she says, "I'm helping you because it's what I do." Jackie continues to talk about how she's going to Bellevue for her next job. She basically begs Zoe to come with her, says that they have a spot for her and she would love to keep working with her. And Zoe tells Jackie she won't be going to Bellevue with her because she is moving on, because all she does is worry about Jackie. First, she wanted to be her, and now she just needs to move on. The breaking of this codependent relationship fucks me up. I just need to keep going. Bernard is having memories of his life before his illness. At one point, he and Jackie are sitting on a bed together, and he's speaking to her as if she is his wife, and talking about his job and their life together and how wonderful everything is. In this moment, in contrast to when he was staring back at that gun, he almost doesn't know that he is succumbing to his illness. It's a blindness that Jackie shares. Bernard was really the one who supported Jackie as she went through her diversion program. He was the one who brought her into a room with a patient for the first time. He was the one who always relied on her and believed in her as a nurse. Illness is consuming Bernard, but it's consuming Jackie as well. The emergency room closes for good because they no longer have any drugs to give out to patients. There is nothing left, which means there can be no hospital. With the hospital closing, so does any hope for a cure for Bernard and perhaps for Jackie. Jackie uses some of the drugs that belong to her final patient. When she exits the bathroom, she sets down her badge and her stethoscope. And then we enter a sequence where she steps outside of the hospital and walks through New York. In these moments, she is not a nurse, she is just another pedestrian. Then Jackie opens her eyes and she is not on a yoga mat in Times Square. She's on the floor of the hospital. While people rush around to try and save Jackie's life, Zoe is over her saying, "You're good, Jackie. You're good." And then everything goes black. That is where the series ends. We don't know whether she dies or not. Much like with the final scene of The Sopranos, viewers have long speculated what happens to Jackie at the conclusion of the series. While some viewers were upset that Jackie didn't have an explicitly happy ending on screen, Edie Falco felt that this ending was important because it was more honest. Jackie cannot get away with her level of lies and schemes forever. At some point, it's going to come crashing down and she's going to lose everything. As I quoted her earlier in the video, anything that an addict puts above their sobriety will be lost. This is why, in my opinion, in the ending sequence, Jackie takes off her stethoscope and badge before she enters the world as a pedestrian. She is no longer a nurse. The hospital is closing down. There are no more drugs to give out to patients. She has served her last patient. And much like Bernie, where this hospital closing marks the end of his career, I feel it is the same for Jackie. Zoe starts calling the shots, saying they need to call Bellevue. The hospital no longer has the supplies that it would need to save Jackie's life here. When this fantasy sequence ends and Jackie opens her eyes and is on the hospital floor, her stethoscope is still around her neck and her badge is still in place. So she did not actually take those things off. It's like her life flashes before her eyes, except instead of seeing memories, she loses her identity as a nurse. In searching for answers about the final scene, we have to ask, why is she still wearing the stethoscope on the floor? And why are Zoe's last words to her, "You're good, Jackie, you're good"? We see Zoe calling things out, "O2, call Bellevue." Those last words, "You're good, Jackie," are shown from Jackie's perspective. Is Jackie okay with dying here because she has fulfilled her duties as a nurse? Throughout this episode, Jackie loses nearly everything. She loses trust and confidence from her best friend, O'Hara, who has always, until the finale, respected her as a nurse. She loses Zoe, who will be parting ways with her and letting go after this hospital is closed. She is going to lose Eddie, who has given up everything because Jackie is his whole world. Eddie will never be Jackie's whole world because being a nurse is her whole world. Is Jackie's true fate here, this stripping of her identity as a nurse, worse to her than death? While some viewers of The Sopranos may have been waiting for that moment in the finale where we finally see Tony pay for all the terrible things he has done, I don't think anyone watches Nurse Jackie and feels the same way about Jackie Payton. We are able to root for Jackie because so many of her actions have to do with her love for being a nurse. While throughout the series, yes, she does plenty of things to protect herself as an addict, there are more things she does to protect herself as a parent, and even more things she does to protect herself as a nurse. That's why, as frustrating as it is when she takes that pill after her hearing, we're able to see why, for Jackie, the conflict is over. The thing that makes this finale so watchable and so engaging, the low point emotionally doesn't come when Jackie uses. The low point comes when it hits us. This woman is no longer a nurse. That's why, to me, whether Jackie survives this or not, it is a death sequence. Okay, I think that's good. I feel like I've synthesized everything I can from the series as a whole. There has been some talk about a Nurse Jackie reboot. It was announced at the same time as a potential Weeds reboot, which is another Showtime show I've discussed in this video. But very recently, in an interview with Mary Louise Parker, she said that the Weeds reboot wasn't really moving forward, but I'm not really sure about the status of a potential Nurse Jackie reboot. Presumably, it would only happen if Edie Falco returns to the role, because what's Nurse Jackie without Nurse Jackie? But like I said, I don't have any details on that. One thing's for certain though, if it happens and they film in New York, I gotta fucking clock in. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really hope you enjoyed this recap and analysis of Nurse Jackie. Likes and comments help out the channel a lot, so feel free to do so if you have some thoughts you want to share. If you want to catch my next content as soon as it comes out, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I have a couple of things on the back burner. I'm still working on a Pushing Daisies video, but I'm trying to decide how scripted I want it to be. I'm also in the early planning stages of videos for Melrose Place events. It won't be a recap, but like a tier ranking of plots. Recaps for Dirt and GCB, that Pushing Daisies video I mentioned, and of course the start of a new series where I cover various episodes of the X-Files and rank them. So yeah, some of those may be coming soon, I hope. We'll see. Thank you again for watching, and I hope you have a great day. Bye!